Also, something that I do want to point out for the audience, the phrasing that you used in one of the comments on the main take, you fucking DK64 perverts. Incredible. Maybe the best way of describing this podcast anyone has had so far.
We're there.
I feel like I needed to speak truth to power, and right now we are currently under even in like from the popular vote or electoral college, I would be a like vocal but disempowered minority in terms of in the representative democracy of like DK fans.
The sticky part of any wheel, no matter the system.
The Donkey Kong 64 caucus has it.
Honestly, the sticky part of any wheel. I'm recording already just to kind of check the waveform and make sure everything's looking good.
I think we all are. This is technically in the podcast.
Yeah, so so if we're definitely in the podcast, after dinner, every single night, we take our daughter on a walk through the local greenway. Eventually, that takes us to a sidewalk that's right along a street. And so you have traffic like coming forward and coming back. And you're right up against like the greenway. You come up across an abundance of blackberry trees or blackberry bushes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
At one point, we were trying to figure out why were there little obscure, weird like bits of like black smudge on our ankles when we would come back at the end of a walk. We eventually realized, there's blackberries that we're stepping over because it's nearly blackberry season to falling down.
Those are just weeds, like, essentially. Like they happen to have a fruit that is delicious, but they grow like a fucking weed. They get everywhere.
And speaking of everywhere, after it rained one day, we thought, at least this will wash out all the blackberries. The path will be clear. No, we get back to the sidewalk. And when I say this sidewalk is suddenly covered in blackberries.
Blackberry jam all over the fucking place.
It is blackberry jam for a few good yards. And this has resulted over many, many like nightly strolls. Curdled, dank blackberry gunk has gotten into the joints and the wheels of the stroller that we use.
Oh no.
Just crudded into there.
You didn't walk around the blackberries?
You can't, because this sidewalk, you either step off into oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
Which typically not the best solution to this problem.
Or you phase through the end of the level and clip out and glitch out of existence.
Well, this is the problem. You're not thinking with speedruns.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to be sequence breaking, just go through the woods. You need to be sketching on a car with your stroller, like Tony Hawk style.
I understand that your child is young, but they have to learn about no clips at some point. It's best that they learn early. Also,
this feels like for next year, it could just be like a competition between y'all to eat as many blackberries as you can so the problem doesn't exist this way. And like this is it's not gonna be pretty in any stretch of the imagination, but like you gotta do what you gotta do.
This is the second weirdest or the second most memorable blackberry related episode of my life. I can say the later.
What's the first?
I have to save it for another episode. We got to get the people invested. And
I didn't remember to follow Fall Damage Can't Hurt You if you want to hear the conclusion of the Roxel Blackberry saga.
No, but this saga is going to have to be incredible if we're going to tease it for a future episode.
Oh, listen, Nintendo. Once I tell you off podcast who this involves, you will understand. You'll understand the hook of this.
Listeners, it's going to be a kind of story where either Roxel just has a very normal day with blackberries, or it's like Roxel stole blackberries out of the pie of Joe Biden or whatever. I don't know.
Joe Biden's pie. Great podcast title. I think we got it.
Joe Biden. Yeah.
Joe Biden. You're definitely like the lead podcaster here. Like if we were siblings, you would be the oldest sibling, responsible for all of our follies and faults. And you don't want that, but
I guess I am literally the oldest of the three of us, so that does work.
Well, that means I'm a little baby. I'm just the baby.
You're also the only one of us that cares about keeping this on rails. Rox and I, we are like twin demons trying to pull it in different directions, and neither is on track, but just different.
Gremlins, yeah.
I think the difference is that Nintendo understands the nature of their demon and embraces it, whereas I am in continual denial about the demon that dwells within me. I say no.
Well, yeah, Catholic.
Well, oh, God. The God and devil are fighting within us, and no one is winning.
The listeners are winning. The listeners are winning.
Oh, God.
While we're talking about things demonic, I have a third potential cold open that is related to our other openings, or at least the first one. Okay. And related...
Hopefully not the second one.
God, there's more cold openings than left overnight at the dorm room. You know what I mean? Hey.
Okay. I'm going to find a way to share audio. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right.
Share this screen.
Okay.
Oh, don't look at the screen. I just want you to hear the sonic stylings of the person that we chose for music. This is their latest song. How are y'all enjoying this? Can you hear it?
It's very wet.
Oh, wait. I'm not watching the stream. So...
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch the stream, listen along, and just tell me what you think it is.
I see the video. I'm sorry. I'm spoiled on this. What in the God?
I'm glad that my thought that it was weird is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sort of getting like dinner party in a room completely covered with water with like a constant waterfall going vibes.
You're like 90% of the way there.
I've never
Are you fucking kidding? How am I 90% of the way there? What?
It's really the 10% pants that you are going to just be flabbergasted by.
You just need to figure out who the dinner party is for.
But also, I have never been thoroughly repulsed by the concept of stereo audio. This is a...
Pants, will you just check the stream right now and just reveal your deepest fear?
I feel like deepest fear tips off like this is somehow a Skyrim thing. It's gotta be then.
It's not. No. It's not.
What?
It's not, baby. I'm
what?
Sorry.
We're bringing back the classics. Weird cat
1
shit.
1 hour of cats eating in stereo with synth accompaniment?
It's accompaniment that really sells it for me.
We've moved beyond the 2010s. If this were made in 2016, this would be like 1 hour of cats eating in stereo with synth accompaniment to study to.
Tricks Point Never is definitely going to sample this in their next album.
We've like completely moved past that as a society. We no longer do useful things as a society. We just have cats eating.
Yeah, that's what I do with my life every day. That is what I'm listening to 9 times out of 10, just like in the middle of the workday. Baby B is just chomping down there. There's usually no synth though, and that's what makes it go from like just everyday life to art with a capital A.
It's what elevates it, yeah.
Do you know what else is art?
Video games.
Video games. I wanted to do the segue.
We haven't introduced ourselves.
Video game?
Shit. I wanted to be the lead podcaster.
Hold on. All right. I got this. So you know what else is art?
Yeah?
Falling off a cliff and dying.
Fuck.
It all goes back to Icarus. It all comes back to Icarus.
In all seriousness, this is Fall Damage Can't Hurt You, the podcast where fall damage may not be able to hurt you, but our takes certainly can. I'm your host, username equals pants.
I'm your host, Nintendo64.
I'm your host, Roxavoxel.
If you have not been here before, if this is your first time on the cast,
welcome.
Welcome. You're right. We should welcome them in before we scare them off.
Welcome in, my big dogs.
Yeah, either welcome or we're sorry.
Probably both.
Or should I say, willkommen, my grosse Hunde?
We're like the podcast equivalent of the community meme where you just kind of come in, there's already a fire starting. If that's your vibe, you know you're here. Your family.
When you're here, you're family, and the family is on fire.
Yeah, the family's on fire.
Pants, what are we? Who do we do?
Who do we do is a very personal question, but what we do...
Try to define the relationship. What are we? Who are we?
Yeah, I realized that after I said it.
Happy to talk about that, but I feel like it would be a very different type of podcast. What we are here to do is give you takes. Organic, certified fresh takes that actually come from a real person who is really kind of crazy. We see, more importantly, if you, yes, you, the listener, the person listening to this podcast right now, agrees with them in our comments and, I don't know, just in your life. In your life, discuss these. That's
all of the 5-star reviews that you leave on our podcasts.
Yes, exactly. And all the 5-star reviews. The real point of life is to live it. Find a person in your life who likes talking about weird shit and talk about the weird shit that we talk about with them.
And if you're coming from Pants's Regent is bad at Netrunner video and included comments there, please feel welcome to include, share in the discourse. Bring that energy into this room of discussion, of collegial friendly debate.
I don't know if we want the people from that video coming. They want me dead for that video. Anyway.
We need a wide caucus of people who want to kill Pants.
If people want you dead, they still want you. You got to think like that.
Ooh.
I want you in the ground.
That is a really good point. Either way, the point is, we're not talking about Slay the Spire 2. We are talking about RPGs, right? Is that what the take is about this time, Nintendo?
Yes, we are talking about RPGs. In particular, in RPGs, we are talking about grinding because the take is grind is good.
Spicy.
I narrow the focus to RPGs. Grind is good in a lot of places, on the dance floor, in Tony Hawk games.
Shout outs to Sonic Adventure 2 for the Nintendo GameCube.
And shout out to Sonic for the Child Garden. RIP. Real one down.
Always in our hearts.
But yeah, I wanted to narrow it to RPGs and like grinding in there because, we've talked about roguelikes and Metroidvanias that have a lot of grinds in the form of runbacks and stuff like that. And I love those two. That's a take for a future day. You can fight me on that later. Runbacks are good, actually.
And I'm sure we will.
But today I want to talk about my favorite thing to do in video games, which is just doing the same battle over and over and over again. And the bigger take of this is making sure that I don't break the game in the process.
Before you get into breaking the game, what is grinding specifically in the context of an RPG?
Yeah, very good question.
So in RPGs, we're thinking of Earthbound, Clair-Obscur, Expedition 33, Super Mario RPG. There is going to be ATP-style battles, fighting against a range of enemies. You have an action menu with attack, items, what have you, depends on the game. I just love to do those battles over and over. I don't care if it is the rats all the way up to refighting bosses. The kind of battles that are super basic in any RPG where you're just clicking attack, maybe healing somebody or maybe casting a simple spell. Those are the things that I love most in those kind of games, the kind of everyday moment. I love the big battles. I love the things that change things up. I love that moment where you think that you need to get them down to 0 health, but actually you weren't supposed to damage them at all or whatever. But I just love the ordinariness. Jump into any RPG in Earthbound, chase down every last slimy snake that I see on the screen and just clear the area, just run havoc. Even if I have already gotten to the right level, I just want to keep doing it because it's fun. Like an idle game in terms of how it helps me feel like I'm able to pass time, explore in a space,
I'm not sure I do know. I'd like you to elaborate a little bit because I think the natural counter argument to RPG grinding is good is RPG grinding is boring. You're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you use the adjective ordinary to describe grinding, and I'm wondering what you mean by ordinary.
Describe your perfect grind.
Waka Flocka 2009... Dancer with no hands.
I was waiting for somebody to ask. Long walk on the beach. I think my perfect grind is probably the one that I experienced most recently in Clair-Obscur Expedition 33, where in any different level in that game, you will encounter just one-off minion-style enemies. Something weird, like giant hands that look like they're already always praying in both
those guys,
senses of the word. And then in other zones, God, how do you describe the gestrels? It looks like paintbrush wooden marionette guys.
With paintbrushes on top of their
Some
heads,
of them with like a big old shield that like shoots lightning at you.
Yeah, exactly. As you expect.
As one does, yeah.
Oh, you mean the Sakapatat?
Yeah, Sakapatat.
Yeah, Sakapatat.
Yeah, because the gestrels created the Sakapatat. They're like sort of their mechs, but I'm being distracted for the point, yeah.
I think it's a good clarification.
Also, it's just very fun to say Sakapatat because it's like a sack of potatoes. Like it's just good stuff.
It's good.
Big
Sometimes
fan.
the French are right.
I don't know if we can say that on air. I think the FCC might shut us down for that.
Actually, the podcast is done. Splitting up.
It was fun while it lasted.
Hey, 3 is the magic number.
I called it a Clair-Obscurification.
What?
Never mind. I get it because, obscure is the obfuscation, but that's why it's a little bit, it's an inversion. Anyway, Zintendo, you were talking about Clair-Obscur.
Those are some minions that I really love in that game. And what I love about it, you will go into a zone that is gorgeous and you're besieged upon by plenty of minions that just are going to create battles that you have to kind of wage through.
You're just walking around and they are like, I want to turn you into a fine red paste.
For sure. They are following you around. If you're trying to like explore the level, they are going to be like chasing you down. Really fun RPG. I could talk about the narrative, but in terms of grinding, those battles and the grind of them kind of get in the way of the exploration that you could be doing on the stage. But it's also why I love doing them because it allows the grind to serve 2 purposes. I battle through these monsters who each have tons of like lore attached to them and beautiful character work in terms of how they're formed and what they mean for the world and how the kind of component pieces of them come together. And then it also allows me to like open up the level to explore my own. I'll look for secrets, to do platforming to weird places if I need to do the thing that I always do in any video game, which is try to clip out of the bounds, which I definitely did do in that game and skipped, I think, a full boss fight at one point.
Oh, wow. It's definitely possible to do that. I just did not discover that myself in my playthrough.
Always keep clipping.
This definitely speaks to what I understand to be your taste and proclivities as a player. In terms of the 4 sort of like activities that really draw a player into a game, I think exploration is one of those big draws for you. But I'm interested how the grind feels like a vehicle to that experience of exploration, and how I think exploration also sort of extends to like breaking the world. I'm interested in how the grind fits into that.
What you're describing sounds similar to me to the experience you would get by just turning the encounter rate to 0 or throwing a holy bottle in a Tales of game where the enemies are there but they can't get in your way. They can't start a battle. Why grinding specifically versus that sort of experience?
I like the doing of the battles over and over various different ways. On the like simplest, most animalistic level, I think it is just good to like clear something. It's good to see the numbers go up. In the same way that I love a clicker game where it's like, oh, I'm clicking on the cookie and 1 cookie per click, and then I get this power up and now I'm doing 10 cookies per click. Oh my God, number go up, number go good.
Yeah.
There's that aspect. And then I also love like through that a kind of mindless, I don't want to say like Zen state zone you can get into where you're just doing battles over and over, and it kind of helps you optimize moves and optimize your gameplay. I know in that game in particular, you have 5 party members that you can like explore the different like power-ups of, explore the different kinds of move sets, and being able to grind allows me the opportunity to try out different things with different people. Oh, if I do this kind of skill tree, what does it look like for this person? And then in that game, it's very easy to like respec, and so it's like, oh, I can respec, and then I can just grind that out and just see it in a different way. And so it's like a way of exploring the combat system, the narrative beats of the monsters, and seeing how they function and what they look like, and just getting to like re-witness them a lot of times. Like I hate a monster that like you're only going to see once in a game, because it's like I kind of want to dwell in that space and get to know it and see like how it's like aiding to the larger story being told here.
And like in that game, it's like I just fucking learned how to dodge the dueliste.
Exactly.
It took me an hour and a half to figure out this guy's attack that lasts 15 seconds. Now it's just over. Now I just never see him again.
Exactly.
In some ways, grind is something that is an expression of a RPG's individuality, what makes it distinct, as much as it's potentially an integral part of the form itself. For Clair-Obscur, grinding is a part of mastering the reflexes required to dodge and parry in this turn-based game is distinct to it in a way that grinding in Final Fantasy VII, for instance, is very, very, very different.
There is like an actual mechanical, like, I have gotten good at the mechanics of this fight level, which is like, I feel that it gives you an extra axis of reward.
Yeah. Every game like this has some sort of like moveset or some sort of like different ways in which you can explore characters. Like I know in Super Mario RPG, there are like super moves that like combine your entire party will change based off the component characters you have during that battle. One of the things that you can do while you grind is just see what those like final moves are.
Yeah.
Which ones actually seem useful, which ones might not actually be that helpful, which ones are like cool and that you want to just keep doing because they like optimize the strategy you're working with. That is present in every game. It's just also in a game like Clair-Obscur, there's like the added benefit of like learning how to dodge, which is really hard in this game and really time and rhythm sensitive. I attempted to play a little bit of Pokemon, I think it was Fire Red. And as somebody who knows previously established very little about Pokemon, it was just good to like grind in that game so I can figure out, what does quick attack do? What does that mean? Why do bird get it? And is it good?
What does the bird get it? Is it good? Is that bird good?
I know that birds are bad, but what if birds are good?
Is it a ladybird? Is it a good bird?
I mean, I personally fucking hate that bird, but...
We're an anti-bird podcast.
Birds are real and they can't hurt you. That is, in fact, the problem.
Yeah. So I think the subject that we are flying around, that we are gyrating around, you could say.
The gyre is widening, yeah.
Exactly. The center cannot hold. But the center of this conversation seems to be the question of not is grind good, but is there a good grind and is there a bad grind? And if so, what do those look like?
I think there absolutely is bad grind.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to go back to Super Mario RPGs, Nintendo. I think here we do have to get into the idea you brought up at first of breaking the game. To tell the experience I had playing Super Mario RPG the first time that I played it back when I was a teenager. At that time, the way that I typically engaged with an RPG was, and I know this is going to sound crazy to y'all given how I approach them now, I would just go around and like clear every fixed encounter that was on the screen once. Hey, the developers gave me X fights, I'm going to do X fights. Just the process of doing that, just beating the normal fights, like the normal number of fights that was laid out for me to be able to beat, I was so horrifically over-leveled that the bosses were not challenging at all, even though I was bad at the game. Like, I was missing action commands left and right. In Super Mario RPG, if you miss action commands, attack, you deal less damage. When you defend, you take more damage. So we're talking like huge damage multipliers in both directions unfavorably. And I just had so many stats from leveling up that it didn't matter. All of the bosses were a complete joke, which completely ruined the experience of the game for me. And I was like, this game sucks. Why does anyone like this game? The problem was that the game was not set up for me to grind that much. So I absolutely do think that there is bad grinding. I think that in many cases, bad grinding is linked to other design decisions like poor handling of leveling up and just like poor handling of like how the stats that your characters have influence the rest of the gameplay. But the fact that like naturally in an RPG you think you have to grind, if your game has those problems, the player is going to experience them very often.
So I think the thing I want to draw out of that though, Pants, is it seems like, Super Mario RPG was your introduction to grind as a concept. Is that right?
Well, I played Pokemon before.
Yeah.
It didn't have the same problem because you could swap. There were a lot more Pokemon to swap in and out.
Okay, I got you. So it's one of the ways where you're introduced to like what is a bad grind, right?
Yes.
But in this case, I feel like it's not that the grinding itself was bad. It seemed like, at least from your retelling, that like doing the game and fighting through those enemies was like at least sufficiently fun for you that you like kept doing it. So the grind is good, but like the grind is not always rewarded. And in my head, because grind is good, there should be a heaven thereafter that always rewards my grind.
I think it's hard to disentangle them. If the grind itself is good, but it ruins the experience of the rest of the game, it is a bad grind. It's a grind in a game that's not set up to let you grind. Even if the grind itself is like kind of fun, if it ruins the rest of the experience of the game, I don't think we can call it good.
A few things that sort of like the triggers in my mind with this discussion. This speaks, I think, to sort of the intrinsic goodness of grind. I feel like grind is one of the first reference points that we have as players. It's our first pieces of vocabulary to contextualize our relationship with the play experience. When you're young and you're first getting into video games, or whatever age you are, everything is very new. You're in the state of discovery. And I think one of the first frames of reference you get, especially if you play RPGs when you're younger, is this relationship between the effort you put in and the amount of time it takes to get that desired output, whether that is beating a boss, ascending to a certain level, getting your starter Pokemon to level 100. Grind in that moment becomes one of the things you first sort of understand from like an affective dimension, and like how do you experience the game. That is sort of like your entrance. It's one of your first critical points of reference to assess your relationship to, what do I like about this game? Where does it succeed? Where does it fail? Because on one end, like you said, Pants, for Pokemon, there were some aspects of that grind that were really satisfying. But on the other end, a game like Super Mario RPG, the grind, even if in the moment it feels good, in retrospect, it feels bad because of the way it affects the overall progression, or, as Nintendo has said, the curve. How does it break that curve?
Right, which is why I said, in many ways, quote-unquote bad grinding is often actually a problem with other aspects of the design of the game. There probably are some cases where like the grind itself is not fun, but that also signals that the core gameplay loop of your game is not fun. So I imagine we probably haven't played many of those games because they're not fun to play.
Yeah, like when I think about bad grind, it's like the grinding itself is repetitive or boring or what have you. And I think I've probably played a game or two like that in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like a lot of this take comes from, where it's like, if the grinding is bad, the game is probably bad. But if you're enjoying moment-to-moment gameplay, if you're enjoying redoing battles and that kind of stuff, then it's probably going to be a good game overall. The problem is there are plenty of games that might have other good parts of it, and then like you do just have to like grind in order to hit levels in order to like actually progress in the game. And I think that is where a lot of people say grinding is bad. To undermine my own point, like I've definitely heard like a lot of folks be like, oh, I hate that I had to grind this out in this game. Like I hate that I had to like get to this level to beat the, to progress, or like this battle was so hard because like I didn't have this one skill that you gain when you reach level whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that the boldness of this point in saying that grind is good and putting forth my grind unified theory is that like you should enjoy the doing of the grind, and if it's not good, then you may not enjoy the game. And that like developers should plan with grind in mind when making these games, because there's definitely going to be a sicko out there like me who just wants to like, I want to go and kill the like battle in Clair-Obscur where it's like the people were split in half, and I just want to do that forever. There's a guy that's a beach volleyball, and you just have to keep timing his hits.
Big head, yeah.
You can beat everyone if you parry enough.
And I just want to volley that beach volleyball.
To tip my hand here, I am absolutely the person who, if your game forces me to grind, if it's like, yeah, like basically the only way to progress this game is to hit level 15 so that you have like a certain healing spell, because otherwise you can't get enough DPS or whatever, I'm probably not going to like your game if I have to do that. My ideal relationship with grinding in an RPG is that I like it to be an option, but I don't like it to be required. Oh, Lord, I'm about to out myself as an Atlas sicko. I think that my ideal game when it comes to grinding is like Shin Megami Tensei, where you can grind for levels. It's always there. You're always able to grind for levels, and getting levels does unlock certain things for you. But if you're hard-walled on a fight, grinding for levels is almost never the correct way to actually get unblocked, because the main output that you get in a given fight is not your stats, it's your press turns. Things like I resist certain elements, or I reflect certain elements, or I can hit with certain elements are a lot more important in terms of how much damage you can do and how much damage you can prevent in a given fight. Usually what you should do instead of grinding for levels is grind a few of your demons into Gloop and fuse them into a new demon that has a better elemental affinity for the fight that you're hard-walled on.
You get to the guillotine.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't know they had Demon Gloop in that game.
There's definitely...
Demon Gloop is actually like kind of the universal currency in that game.
You might even be able to find a demon gloop. There's definitely some gloop-like monsters in there.
Oh yeah, there are literally oozes. Yeah.
Oddly enough, a holy element.
And that's what I want from a game is like
the holy gloop.
Oh yes. There's also holy gloop. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the radiant
demon gloop, holy gloop. Is there like a purgatory gloop, like a normal gloop?
Well, angels are also demon is more just like mythical creature in that game. So like like the archangel Michael is a demon terminology wise in SMT.
Well, I think in terms of the world of SMT, purgatory is SMT4 because who's ever really going to play that since it's locked into the 3DS?
Which sucks because it's like the best game in the series.
Oh, damn.
Shout out to those 3DS players out there. There's still many of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, you could probably hawk that for about 300. Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that is what I want from games where it's like the difficulty is not necessarily hinging on simply your levels so that you can grind levels so that like other things might be easier, but it doesn't like break the entirety of the game because the inverse, I hated Super Mario RPG where I'm like trying to avoid battles. It is a 3/4 view, isometric vision of the board. You play as little Mario running around what looks like a little chessboard. And like the platforming in that game to try to avoid the monsters really, really sucks.
It sucks so
You can't move your camera. You can't like control like where you're actually going to hit. You're like, you try to jump over a ledge and it's like, who knows if it's going to work? And frankly, so many RPGs have bad platforming.
And there are so many times where it's like, I, Mario, Jumpman, am going to jump over this teeny little starfish that is like 1 apple tall. And you try to jump over it. The hitbox is like 17 times larger than the starfish is, and it starts at a forced encounter.
I feel like the subtitle of this episode should be The Collective Grievances Inflicted Upon Us by Super Mario RPG. Because I feel like you two carry so much trauma from this one game.
It's funny because
I have a feeling we're about to say the same thing. Go ahead.
It's trauma from 2 different eras in life. Like, it seems like Pants' trauma is like a deep-seated childhood trauma. Whereas for me, it's like, I played this game in the last year and was like, oh, I hate this.
Okay, we were going to say different things because like the funny thing is I love Super Mario RPG. It's a fucking great game. It's like super fun as long as you avoid every possible random encounter that you can.
Yeah, and I refuse.
I think this is a place where I just have to diverge from you two because for me, one of the most satisfying experiences I can have in an RPG is where I do leverage grind to break the curve.
Yeah.
I understand that there is ideal power progression in any game. If you balance it correctly, every single boss fight is meant to be satisfying, challenging, but not insurmountable. And for me, fuck all of that. I want to grind for 36 hours in the first zone and then come out Armageddon embodied. I want to lay waste to every boss in front of me. I want to trivialize these experiences. I went into them dungeons. I killed them slimes. I gobbled them up. I became the biggest boy with the biggest sword. Yes, it is the second area. We are only seeing mushrooms and whatnot. But nah, I came here to wreck house.
You're walking around to like the basic color palette B enemy with the King Kong ain't got shit on me monologue.
No, I very much agree with you, Roxel. Like, that is, even in the games in which like grind can break the game, I like to break the game. Let me break it. What I want to do is kill rats until I can kill God. Who are you to say I can't?
And I think that fondness I have for grinding as a vehicle to accumulate power that ultimately breaks the power curve of the game, the thing that I love or appreciate about it is I find that it's one of these experiences that feels very singular to the medium of video games.
I'd argue it's even somewhat specific to RPGs.
Yeah.
The equivalent of this in like a Metroidvania is like, I have godlike skill. And like, I don't know, I've never experienced having godlike skill, but I've certainly experienced being 5 levels too overpowered for an area and everything dealing 1 damage to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of other games, like you could in theory grind to get better at playing video games. Like I could go out there and grind Super Mario 3 until I'm as good as my girlfriend. In RPGs, you can just grind by doing the grind. The game will improve for you. And then you can just go past levels in that way. And it's just it's like a somewhat of a difficulty slider, but also like a badassery slider.
Yeah. And I think in a way, like grinding and the way it gives you access to power or brute forcing progress, I feel it's sort of a democratizing element in games that feels, I think, like very liberating, or like I appreciate it in a way. You're not necessarily bound by sort of the barrier of dexterity that would make mastering a 2D platformer a potentially punishing or unpleasant experience. On the flip side of it, you're not blocked out by sort of the intellectual barrier of having to figure out the precise systems or mechanics. How do I progress this boss fight?
Or even worse, it isn't even a combat system you can grind and get stats at. It's like, can you figure out the Golden Path puzzle from Tunic?
Yeah.
I have a fondness for grind that I think is a way of articulating its goodness. From this affective dimension, going back to Nintendo's point, grind initiating a little bit of this flow state. It's compelling how I'm able to access a form of that flow state that would require years of dedication and focus in other forms of expression or art, whether that's playing a guitar, getting a runner's high, throwing the perfect spiral. That requires a level of dedication that is intentionally and purposefully difficult, but not everyone has sort of the dedication, the physical dexterity, or the ability to access that. But grind in a video game allows you to sort of enter that flow state where you're just engaged enough with the moment problem presented in front of you, which is smash the slimes, eat the slimes, grow stronger, find bigger slime to eat. You're still engrossed in that, but you're not operating at such sort of a low level of like intellectual and physical engagement that you may as well sort of be doom scrolling on your phone.
Sometimes the power fantasy or the joy that you can get out of a video game is enacting an experience in which the time that you put in it is going to necessarily be rewarded. I know that if I had spent the next 6 years of my life trying to learn how to draw, I would be better than I am today. But I may not be as good as somebody who's like actually great at it. And currently, just for the audience, I'm ass at drawing.
Shout outs, me too.
Shout out to ass.
Shout out to ass.
Calling me ass at drawing is a deep insult to ass, which is one of the great gifts upon this earth.
Sometimes I can occasionally draw badly enough to where in the drawing Jackbox game, people are confused and will still use it because they're like, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's funny. And that always delights me. It's like, yeah, failure can be rewarded. But yeah, like in video games, I could just do the same thing over and over and definitely improve. Like I can see the number improve, know that it's working. It can be kind of encouraging where it's like, no matter what, you're going to get stronger tomorrow because you've got experience points where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not how life works.
No, it is not. No.
In real life, if you do things over and over, you probably will get better at them. Maybe. I don't know.
It does require some intentionality and focus, though, to guarantee that.
Yeah.
I get the argument here. I absolutely get where y'all are coming from. I have found, and I think this is something that maybe has come with getting older. I'm not sure. It's possible that it's a getting older thing. Over time, I've gravitated more in the direction of I'm not looking for that flow state when I game. I'm looking for the struggle when I game. Like I am looking for, oh my God, I'm not sure I can even mathematically beat this boss right now. Having to scrape my brain, use every possible mechanic that I can to just barely piece together enough damage to get through. That is really what I want from like a boss fight in an RPG nowadays in my 30s, which maybe says something weird about me. I don't know. Any psychoanalysts in the comments, please do not comment on this video, at least about me. But this is exactly why I love SMT, for instance. Find a creative way to get around the problem, get just enough boosted experience points because I avoided a bunch of fights and now I'm in the part of the experience cove where they're like, we'll throw a bone for you, and then like do it again with the next boss. That's my ideal. I would like to skip every basic encounter, maybe a bare minimum that I have to do, and then give myself the big struggle with the next boss.
Pants yearns for the struggle. Within him is a void known as ennui, and he yearns for the great combat that should clarify that his soul is alive and he quickens with the pulse of creativity that is distinct from man, from beast.
Yeah, basically.
That's
it.
I vibe with it. Yeah.
Pants built different. Yeah,
pants built different. Listen, go. You know?
I feel you though on that.
Some are Velcro, pants is zipper. There you go.
Sometimes I will like to do that by like playing in unconventional ways or playing in like an optimized way.
Or playing a different genre, right? Like, that's the Silksong experience. Like, Silksong gives you that no matter how much you grind.
Yeah. You can't just beat that game by finding stuff. I find all the stuff and you can't, it's not easier. I mean, it's easier, but it's not
still hard.
Easy.
Yeah. It's like, I guess maybe it's, I'm looking for that experience even in my RPGs.
Yeah.
I yearn for the number to go up. And that is why grind is good.
That's totally fair.
I do yearn for like struggle and like weird combat. I think both can coexist. You know, grind can be good and grind can be not good right now. Asterisk.
A game that's good will give you both experiences, I think.
Yeah.
It'll give you the ability to grind, but it'll also, maybe there's a boss with a unique mechanic where you have to still think even if you have levels. I think a good game should give you both experiences.
Exactly. Like to call out Clair-Obscur again, there are some challenges in the very, very late game of that's going to punish you if you have only spec'd into like having one very good character that can do one very good thing.
Yeah.
Unless you are willing to either overgrind or over-optimize your build, which is another good kind of fun that you can have in the game. If you don't see it coming, God help you.
Yeah. God helping me was not enough for me in some of those fights. Me sitting here like, oh, the way I like to play RPGs, have like a very balanced team that can do a lot of things and can heal well and put up shields. And then there's the boss that's like, oh, you like healing? 1 HP, idiot. You like shields? Steal 'em, idiot. Sure.
Why heal when you can hurt? That's my strategy. Optimize for killing your enemies as quickly as possible, and then they can never kill you.
Things Nintendo says in therapy.
I mean, there are arguments I could make, but in that game, you are unambiguously 100% correct.
There's other games where that's not the strategy, and then I get punished, and then you learn, and you grow, and you grind.
It's me, Mario.
I'm going to try a segue.
We can speed run into the next segment.
Usually Pants gets the segues, but I'm going to try it again. Failed the first time. We're doing it.
All right.
I believe.
Talking about RPGs, let's talk about just the P for P-Speed. A new minigame.
A minigame. It's called P-Speed? Tell us more. What does P-Speed stands for?
What does P mean?
That was not a correct sentence. What does P-Speed stand for?
P-Speed, for the listeners, is a mechanic in 2D Mario games starting at like post 2. Keep running and hold your run. You'll be able to run faster. And so fastness is rewarded with fastness.
So momentum.
It's called P-Speed because there's like an icon on the screen with like a P on it that shows when you reach max speed.
What is a P? Do you know what the P actually stands for?
Absolutely not. I was about to ask you that.
Well, today, the P stands for prediction. Predicting speed run times.
Ooh, prediction markets have come home.
We have two lovely guests, somebody who knows a good bit about speed runs.
We need some game show music in the background here.
And cut to, boom! It's happening.
It's gonna be the fucking cats with synth accompaniment. I already know. I already know it's gonna be the fucking cats with synth accompaniment.
Well, it wasn't until now.
The most deranged part of that was Nintendo insisting that Pants was 90% of the way there.
I was not. I was like at most 60 or 65.
You said wet eating with waves and synth waves with cats eating wetly, I think you're there.
You know, I want you to work the math onto that. Show the work. Show your work.
Audience who is currently listening to that track, give us a 5-star review with a comment on whether I'm right or not.
We need the proof. We need the mathematical proof. I need to know where these percentages come from. I gotta see the denominator. What's the numerator? All right.
I have a very advanced math proof.
The distance metric is super fucked up, I think is the answer.
We have at least one lovely guest to my game show. You can determine which of the two of you is lovely.
We got like 7 if we're counting the cats.
I'm going to quiz you on speedrun times. Pants knows a good bit about speedruns.
Yes.
Being the person that I send all of my Games Done Quick Thoughts to.
For like a while, like there's like at least 6 or 7 years at this point.
Yeah. Roxo, what's your experience with speedruns?
I have never so thoroughly been disappointing to you as a friend and a companion in this life than how you will send me every single video to lure me into the world of speedrunning, and I will just never engage with it.
This got a lot deeper than I expected. Maybe we just need the psychoanalyst to not comment on this episode at all.
Yeah. Come back next time, psychoanalyst. We'll give you some material then.
We're glad you're here, especially if it is your first time. Welcome. But please
rate my self-concept on a scale of 1 to 5 and leave it in the comments.
Oh, no.
I thought the most fun way of starting this game is to quiz you all on the speedrun times of a couple of the games that we discussed.
Okay.
The way this will work, I'm going to pitch first to Pants to see if you can guess the time, and then Roxel, because you know less, you get to guess just over or under. Pants, if Roxel's wrong, you get a point. Roxel, if you're right, then you get a point. And then you get just a little bit better in my regard when it comes to speedruns. Digging out of that hole.
Get me out of that hole. I'm in it. I'm deep in that hole.
Frankly, the more fair the game, the worse it is.
True.
We're going to start with SMW since the game is P-Speed.
Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
What category? Because I know there are like a trillion categories. That's like one of the most played speed games in the world.
I think it's fun to go longest category, shortest category.
And longest means the longest it takes to do the speed run, and shortest means the shortest it takes to do the speed run.
I'll use Ocarina of Time as an example just because it's very accessible. I think most people have played Ocarina of Time. Any percent is beat the game with any number of glitches. The only thing you're required to do is get to the credits. And in fact, in Ocarina of Time, they skip fighting Ganon entirely. They warp directly to the credits.
You don't need them.
Right. By contrast, 100% is you have to get all of the stuff that stays in the pause screen. With glitches and all of that stuff, they can get to the credits in like 4 or 5-ish minutes, I think, for any percent, because there are some very powerful glitches in that game. Whereas 100% is like, oh, you're playing the game for like a solid 2-3 hours. Given the restrictions, given the rules for a given category, you're still trying to beat it as quickly as possible. Nintendo's just curating like, here's a rule set that allows them to beat the game real fast, and here's a rule set that requires them to spend a lot more time playing the game.
And also, the asterisk with any speedrun is like there's always kind of nuances to various things.
Oh, yeah.
Various tools, mods in order to run the game.
Yeah.
Some games allow that, some don't. Some games allow, like, co-op, some don't.
Some games, and this I promise is not a joke, some games, if you put your console on a hot plate, you can beat it faster.
Ooh.
Shout out to that one cosmic ray that helped somebody save time on Super Mario 64 that one time.
Shoutouts, yeah.
Probably shouldn't be allowed in the category. I'll just say cosmic rays out.
We have entered the realm where I am completely untethered from reality, and I cannot tell if this is like a joke or...
No, that is 100% serious.
All right, let's start.
Video games require a physics degree. SMW, 96 exits, which means reaching 96 completes of a level.
Some levels have multiple exits, like a secret exit and a normal exit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pants, give me a time.
The fucked up thing about this is I'm pretty sure they did this category at the last GDQ when I watched the run, and I absolutely do not remember anything about what the time was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say like an hour and 28 minutes.
Roxel, higher or lower?
If I know anything about what I hear about speedrunning with Mario games, it's that they can go by very, very quickly. So I'm going to say under.
Drumroll. Roxel, point for you. You keep your own points. I refuse to do math.
Yeah, there you go.
The time is 1 hour and 20 minutes. You were so damn close.
I was a lot closer than I thought.
Oh, dang. Oh, my God.
0 exits. Complete opposite side of the world. How long did it take? It's not even an exit. It can't be that long.
This is, again, I've seen this run, or I've seen what was the world record a couple years ago. I'm sure it's gotten optimized more since then. But if I remember correctly, this is like 50 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Roxel?
So if I believe in the great arc of human ingenuity, if I genuinely believe that collectively with the combined genius that is just human expression and curiosity, ultimately on the path to progress,
The beauty of the human soul.
I believe in my soul. Under. I'm definitely under. It's all under, baby.
The moral arc of the universe leads to faster Mario.
It's true, because Roxel, you're right. It is faster. It's actually 41 seconds.
No!
You're so close every time.
I'm getting destroyed.
Audience, play that game. You'll understand what Peace Speed is. Come back. Now you gotta go play Silksong so you can understand our first episode. This was a little out of order, but you'll get there. You're fast.
Learning to P speed will get you through Silksong faster.
I think so.
P stands for Silksong. It's silent at the start.
100%. No major glitches.
So we're back in Silksong land. Okay.
I want to say that that's 6 hours and 15 minutes.
I feel like there's a way I could sort of like game this and just always lean towards under.
It's your optimism of the human spirit. The inherent speediness of humanity.
Speed corresponds with one's faith in God and the promise of an afterlife.
Especially in Silksong, yeah.
That's why Sonic was able to kill God.
I think in this way I will speak blasphemy and say over.
Pants, congratulations. You got your first point.
Yes!
4 hours and 38 minutes.
4?
Yeah.
4?
4.
What?
This is straight from the light. Yeah, I've strayed.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How? Okay, I'm gonna have to watch one of those runs.
Yeah.
And so obviously they did this using the Beast Claw, naturally.
We have to compare Silksong to Stardew Valley as we did in our first episode.
Oh, of course, of course.
Pants, do you think that it's quicker or slower to do the community chest single player in Stardew Valley? How long do you think it takes?
Community Center single player. I think that one is like just right around 2 hours, if I remember correctly, assuming no major glitches. 2 hours and some number of seconds, like 2 hours and like 30 seconds or something.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, there is like some level of math that I can sort of like kind of do with this. For people who don't know about Stardew Valley.
Now you're thinking like a speedrunner. You're doing numbers in your head. This is just an indoctrination.
In Stardew Valley, it's based on a day cycle where you wake up 8 o'clock or so and you go to bed at the very latest to 2 in the morning. 22 minutes a day, roughly, I think. If that's 2 hours, though. Oh, God. I'm going to go with under.
It is 2 hours and 7 minutes.
Oh.
Okay.
How quickly do you think you can do that with glitches?
With glitches, it's gotta be super, super fast because you can just spawn items. I'm gonna guess that with glitches, it's like 15 minutes.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go under with that because you can really like break time in that game.
You're right. It is far under 15 minutes. It is 3 minutes and 37 seconds.
You can barely harvest the parsnips faster than that.
You're Mayor Lewis. It's the early morning. You've gone up. It's 5 o'clock. You've gotten your cup of coffee. You waved awkwardly by Marnie in the, as like she's going out to tend to the cows.
You see a young farmer sprinting by, breaking the sound barrier.
Just scooping up parsnips with a ferocity that makes you like unravel your understanding of the physics of the world. Time bending, colors splurge. Whatever. You look at your hands. They're suddenly noodles.
That's really fast.
This is a game that we talk about every podcast, and so I had to throw it in. What is the 80% record for DK64?
Donkey Kong 64, let's fucking go.
God.
For any percent, if I remember correctly, you can just get straight into Hideout Helm from the start of the game. So you just have to beat Hideout Helm and then K. Rool fight. But the K. Rool fight takes like 10 minutes.
It's long.
So I'm going to guess 25 minutes.
So earlier today, not earlier, the days ago, I don't think this isn't an accusation. I feel this is more of a description that you two are DK64 perverts.
Yeah, exactly. We're in my territory right now.
Yeah.
All right.
This is where we belong.
If I want to apply my grand theory of DK64 perversion, I believe perverts, when they come together, can accomplish all things. And in this way, I believe that here the P stands for pervert speed.
Yeah, pervert speed. Yeah.
Under. I'll go under.
Pants, you got it on the money. 25 minutes. You get to keep your TK64 pervert status for the rest of your life.
Let's fucking go.
There's literally no way for me to win this point. I was completely barred from any way of ascending. Like this.
Yeah, I just let you play along.
Are just too strong.
I have never felt so thoroughly uttered in a space I've shared with people I've known so long. God, to quote a DK64 speed run time the same way like Baptists can quote scripture. I am just...
What's the difference? Like when you look into it, you know?
And lo, he hath neither style nor grace.
Pants, the thing that you do not start the game with, as DK. I think he's the only one that doesn't have Pants of that family, too.
He's living his best life, but I'm sure that his neighbors wish that his best life were different.
I mean, he's still like, business casual. He's got the tie on him.
He's got the tie. Yeah, he's got the tie.
So that will cover you for most of the games that we've discussed as like our main topic headers. But last episode, obviously, we discussed Pokemon. How long do you think it takes to beat all of the Pokemon games?
Wait. This implies a person has done this.
Yes.
Oh God.
So there is a relay race of people who did.
Are glitches allowed? Do you know like those details? Pokemon games have some of the biggest differences between if glitches are allowed and if glitches are not allowed.
I think we have found the perfect antithetical to grind is good. Whatever grind allows this monstrosity of like an event to like occur. At least it's not the same person. Like you had to bring people together to commit to this relay of playing every single Pokemon game. I am so flabbergasted. I have struck the desk.
Well, no, there is a person that did at least the first 8. There's now 9 that is counted in the category.
Oh my God.
Oh dear.
Let's see. Video proof is required. Saving and quitting is allowed. Hard resetting. The console is allowed. Every game must be played on the same language as the category specified. You are only allowed to play one game at a time. Fascinating that has to be specified. I think there's nothing in the categories about glitches.
I'm just going to assume that we're talking like a glitched any percent for all of them, because otherwise that's a lot of time invested. So glitched any percent for all of the Pokemon games. Red, blue, yellow, those are going to be in the neighborhood of like 30 minutes. So it's 1 per gen.
Yes.
Gen 1, I'm pretty sure you can beat those games in like 20 minutes with glitches. Gen 2, I'm pretty sure you can beat those in like 45 minutes with glitches. Gen 3, I don't know if those have glitches that let you skip the game. I'm going to say that's probably around like 2 hours. Gen 4, the remakes have some really bad glitches. I think the original has like one that lets you beat it in around an hour. Then Gen 5, I don't know if there are glitches in that game. I'm just gonna guess that it's probably around 2 hours to beat that game. Maybe 2.5, just to be safe.
I can hear your keyboard in the back. There's crunching happening.
Gen 6, I intentionally know very little about Gen 6, so I'm just gonna guess that that's 2.5 hours. Gen 7, that's where the games start to have a million unskippable cutscenes, so I'm pretty sure that jumps up to like 4 hours. Gen 8 is even worse with that. Maybe like 3 for each of them. For Gen 9, I'm going to assume it's the Gym Leader Challenge, which is around an hour. So that's around 965 minutes.
I feel like this is the kind of math that an inmate does in order to pass the time in solitary confinement.
Sometimes like there's logic puzzles that are like, if a warden offers you, a prisoner, the chance to use a chessboard and say it to another prisoner, and this is like a math puzzle that actually is about like cryptography, but it's like phrased in a way in which it's like a prisoner's dilemma. That's kind of what's happening here.
I'm going to say 16 hours.
Okay. 16 hours.
I'm going under. Not only am I going under in my prediction, I am going under psychologically. I am so out of my depth here. You can get it done in a long work day. Yeah. We're going back to grind, baby. Right? Grind said, Daddy. Good luck.
You're going to have to grind a little bit longer because it is 29 hours, 8 minutes, and 34 seconds. It took over a day of human effort.
Oh, they are not using any glitches. Oh, no.
And then this is the speedrun website for this very cursed category of all Pokemon. Just do them all. Just do it.
And the person who has done it the fastest is French.
Huh.
The French truly love their Pokemon, apparently.
Yeah.
It's quite a French episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're getting the audience we want here.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little too late for that. So we do have a secondary game on P-Speed this episode. Is everyone ready for some trivia with the silent P at the front?
I was going to say Petrivia, but no, that's not. The silent means you don't say it.
So the questions I have for you today are related to RPG grinding and speedruns.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about those two topics smushed together is that most RPG speedruns actually go as far out of their way as possible to avoid grinding, because grinding takes time.
Yeah, notably.
So the questions today are going to be related to a game that doesn't do that. One game specifically from the SRPG subgenre, the strategic RPG, Dudes on a Grid,
Okay.
is a notable exception. It has a lengthy grind around 25 minutes into a run that is about 3.5 hours long. This game is also notable for, despite being made for kids and set in a fairly idealized fantasy setting, forcing you to be a villain protagonist that destroys the world. Question 1, name this game.
Okay.
Villain protagonist, made for kids.
Is this an isometric tactical RPG?
Yes, it is on a grid.
Okay, it's on a grid, it's isometric.
Did you say based off a kid's show or made for kids? Because it could be like Mario Rabbids.
Made for kids.
Okay. Can we ask what platform it was developed for?
That would be the Game Boy Advance.
I had a feeling this was a Game Boy Advance game.
And it's not like some sort of weird tie-in. Like, it's not going to be like SpongeBob tactical RPG that I don't know about.
You have absolutely heard of the franchise that this belongs to, and it is not some weird tie-in game.
Okay.
Okay. Mega Man Battle Network?
Is that an SRPG?
No, it has a grid though. Mega Man Battle Network was screaming back in the hallway of my mind, and I had just to let the beast come through and run out the window.
I know that there's the weird Pokemon tactical RPG. Is it that one?
It is not. I'm not super familiar with those games or their speedruns, but that is a good guess. This is not one of the mainline numbered entries in this franchise, which are better known.
This isn't just like a odd way of getting to Final Fantasy Tactics, is it?
It can't be. I feel like that's too easy. Also, I don't know if those were made for kids.
Well, it's not an odd way of getting to Final Fantasy Tactics, no. This is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Ah.
You son of a... Oh my god.
The distinction really matters because FFTA has a lengthy grind in it, but Final Fantasy Tactics does not.
I'm so furious right now.
Final Fantasy Tactics is the only like isometric game like this that I can think of. You kept saying other things that made me not think of it because I was like, I don't think that's made for kids.
FFTA definitely was made for kids, much more than Final Fantasy Tactics was. It's a much more cartoony setting. You got the lizard guys in the party, and you got the Moogles and all of that, than the original Final Fantasy Tactics, which is like War of the Roses was.
Just so I understand, okay, so was this genuinely like a separate entry?
Completely separate game. In some ways, it's a spiritual sequel, but like Final Fantasy Tactics, the original game, basically it told the story of like a war between two nations, and it's like very gritty and there's political drama. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is some kids get sucked into a magical storybook you, the protagonist, destroy the fantasy world because you're like, hey, it's not healthy for us to live in a literal fantasy world forever.
Oh, so it's like Evangelion.
There's an additional messed up element. Your younger brother in this story, his legs work in the storybook and they don't work in real life.
Oh, so it's like Lost.
Yeah.
It's like the terrible stage version of Wicked, but not the movie.
Nintendo, sit down. Get out of here. I'm sorry. We will not court the ire of musical theater nerds.
I am literally every night in bed with musical theater nerds, so that's an audience I think we have to court.
How does she not kick you in the kidney?
The reason that I'm bringing up FFTA is because there is a grind in it. It's considered highly monotonous because essentially what the grind consists of is spamming a single ability on a single character over 300 times to raise them from level 3 to level 33. How long do you reckon that takes?
I hope that this is like 80% of the run. That's my hope.
Yeah, you said the record's like a little more than 3 hours, right?
Around 3.5, yeah.
I think for something to constitute lengthy within the context of a run, it needs to, I would say, occupy roughly like a third. So I'm going to say they grind for at least an hour.
I'm going to play by the rules of the previous game and say under an hour.
According to the rules of the previous game, under is correct. It's 45 minutes or so. It's not long in terms of like a 3.5 hour run, I guess, by like the 1/3 rule, but it is also a long time to basically be just spam press one button the whole time.
Okay. Gotcha.
This is not directly related to the grind. It's just kind of a thing I think is interesting about the Final Fantasy Tactics Advance speedrun. As you might guess, the most important stat in this game is speed. Speed determines turn order, the length of time between turns, and therefore, if a class has higher speed, they get to take more turns overall. The class with the highest speed in the game is the Assassin class. The Assassin class is kind of widely considered by the fanbase to be the most insanely broken class, not only in this game, but any SRPG that has classes, because of its abilities and because of its insane speed value. The current world record route for Final Fantasy Tactics Advance has a final party with 4 members in it. How many do you think are assassins?
I'm gonna go 2.
I'm going to say 3.
It is 0.
Oh.
The reason is that although the assassin class is insanely busted, it takes a really long time to unlock.
Okay, yeah. Is it something where you have to progress like Thief class?
The main classes that they use are the Monk and the Hunter. The Hunter only takes grinding 2 skills to unlock, and the Monk is like available from the start of the game. They go with stuff that they can unlock very quickly, not have to spend time like grinding ability points. With the grind, they get up to enough stats that it's fine. They can clear the game. I can't imagine playing that game with 0 assassins because of how insanely broken they are. But that's what you have to do if you want world record, I guess.
That's always the trick. The obvious play is never the world record beating play. It's always something a little...
The way that they think in speedruns is very different from the way that you think during a normal casual playthrough. The amount of time it takes to unlock an assassin it doesn't even matter in a casual playthrough. You're just going to do it.
My personal sickness is the Monster Hunter games, which, if you're not familiar, action RPG series from Capcom. You hunt monsters, you get resources when you either kill them or capture them, and you use that to forge new armors and weapons with various buffs in order to take on larger monsters or to improve your times. There are, I think, up to like 12 or 14 weapons at this point. Heavy bowgun, light bowgun, greatsword, shortened shield, dual blades, charge blades, switch axe, lance, gun lance, hammer, and hunting horn.
Ooh, gun lance sounds fun.
Gun lance is very, very, very fun. What would you imagine, like what weapon tends to be like the fastest weapon in terms of like getting a time?
I would guess it's probably one of the basic ones that you can grind up to a really high level quickly, like maybe one of the swords.
Yeah.
It's not a level-based grind. Power, it's basically like upgrades. So you kind of upgrade the levels. Progression isn't locked behind like experience points or levels. It's locked behind gear with higher attributes, like higher like damage or interesting buffs that create interesting synergies when paired with each other.
I'd still probably go with a sword because like my guess is it's a basic type, probably higher level gear drops for it more quickly.
For this to be it is Socratic as an answer. I feel like it's got to be like something like the hunting horn, where it's like ideally a support weapon, but in this one particular circumstance ends up being really fast and good.
Almost invariably, the weapon you want to select if you're just going for fastest kill time is the heavy bow gun.
Oh, okay. Shoutouts to gun.
It is basically gun. So the heavy bow gun sort of is like lumbering, sort of like machine gun, like heavy artillery, like interpretation of like a crossbow.
Huh.
The thing that makes it absolutely busted, it has access to some of the like most like high power ammunition you can get in the range, like category of weapons.
Sense, yeah.
One of the strats that people really come up with is there's these things called, I think they're called cluster bombs, which is basically mortars from the air and having them drop down on dragons. It is just a fireworks show.
I mean, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it does sound
in addition to
shit.
fast. I love a case where like the fastest thing to do is also cool as hell.
It'd look visually very stunning. I think it's interesting because ranged weapons can be a little tricky in that game, but once you really master them, you can kind of control how often you're hitting critical areas on the monster.
Oh, interesting.
You can optimize your damage in a way that's very difficult for melee weapons.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Huh. As you would expect in a speedrun, most missions in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, you aim to complete them in the minimum number of turns possible. There are 2 exceptions. We already talked about one, which is Frosty Mage, where you do a gigantic grind that takes over 300 turns. The other mission where you don't complete it in the minimum number of turns possible is called Jagged Hunt, which takes a minimum of 4 turns. Now, this is a hard question. Why does it take a minimum of 4 turns?
Do you have to let each of your 4 party members die for some sort of like skip reason?
It's not quite that, but that's a very good guess.
Okay.
Is it like a setup ability where you initiate with the first turn and then the effect procs in the next turn?
Kind of.
Oh.
When you hear what it is, you're going to understand why I'm laughing as I say kind of.
I'm so curious.
The reason, and I'm going to refer to my notes to get the wording here correct, is to permanently kill your best friend in the entire world to save time on dialogue.
Oh.
Dang.
Damn.
Brutal.
The sidekick character, he's the first person that you meet when you get sucked into the storybook. And as you would expect, since he is kind of your main sidekick, like your ride or die, there's a lot of missions where he has mandatory dialogue. And normally there's no way to take him out of the party in those missions. Like he's required to be there. But the gimmick with Jags is that if your party members die, rather than just at the end of the battle, they're KO'd, they come back up. The idea is this is a lawless place with, no medics, no protective magic or anything. If you die there and you stay dead for 3 turns, you permanently die. So the speedrun does that to Mont Blanc because the 3 turns that you waste sitting around for him to permanently die, you make up like twice that much time with the amount of dialogue he doesn't say in future battles.
That's so terrible for him.
It's brutal, yeah.
That is beautiful. Oh my god, the brutality, the optimization. Toss the sad boy aside. We got records to break.
Does that break like any further dialogue and sequencing?
It doesn't break. So the developers knew that this was possible. So like there is a version of each cutscene without him, and they're shorter because fewer lines get said.
I haven't played that many Final Fantasy games in the grand scheme of things, but coming off of my experience playing Final Fantasy VI, it is interesting the number of characters and events that you can just skip.
Party members you can permanently kill. Shoutouts to Fish and Sid.
Oh my god, exactly. I didn't think about how fast the fish were. Yeah. I was just like, let me get my dad Fish and feed him, and he freaking dies.
In Final Fantasy VI, it's actually optimally faster to save Sid, but that requires you getting optimal fish.
Optimal fish.
I have one last question, which is the bonus round, which is a bonus round just with a P.
Bonus.
I would say the best known SRPG series is one that I did not focus this around, Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fire Emblem games are very popular with speedrunning. There are a ton of people that speedrun kind of the entire series, but they weren't really a good pick for my questions here because basically zero Fire Emblem games require you to grind. There are two main techniques that let Fire Emblem speedrunners skip grinding. One is primarily used in earlier games, and one is used primarily on more recent games. This is again a hard question, so I'm going to give you two hints, one that pertains to each technique. And the hint words, since this is P-Speed, are going to start with P. One of your hint words is precognition, and your other hint word is parallelization. What are these techniques that let Fire Emblem speedrunners skip grinding?
Precognition, parallelization. I can't say the other one, so I'm going to cross that out. I was hoping that it would be something related to the relationships that you could have in Fire Emblem, and I was hoping it would be like a Skyrim marriage percent kind of thing, but neither of the words that you say are even close to that.
My theory is, for the precognition, so for earlier games, my hypothesis is the movements of the enemies were pre-coded for very like set paths, so you could actually anticipate the movements of enemy units.
You're kind of on the right track, but with the wrong mechanism. You can actually predict a lot more than just the way that the enemy moves.
Is it the case where you know everybody's stat block and every way they're going to move, and so you can just say there's I don't know the mechanics in Fire Emblem, but say there's like an enemy that's weak to poison, you can just pre-poison all your weapons ahead of going into that enemy and then just be able to knock them out?
All of that plays in, but it actually goes beyond just having the game knowledge. There's an additional really important part of the game that the developers did not intend for you to be able to predict, that you can predict.
Is it RNG manipulation?
Exactly. It is RNG manipulation.
Okay.
The early games, just because random number generation, the way that the game encodes random events to happen, it was very primitive, and it's completely understood now. They can do crazy stuff like go into a tile where they know that 5 enemies are going to attack them, and they have 1 HP, but they know that each of those they're going to roll a crit. They're at no risk of actually dying.
It's wild. I hope that it is as convoluted as some of the RNG manipulation tricks for Final Fantasy VII, where you literally have to count your steps.
It's actually, in many cases, even more convoluted. Every single input in the menu affects RNG. So if they accidentally press A at the wrong time, it can ruin the run.
Speedrunners are great. I love speedruns.
This feels like the optimal way to play.
Well, the good news is you can play it that way. You can, in fact, skip 3 houses.
You can speedrun starting today.
Is this how y'all get me? Is this how you, is this the catnip that lures me into, the house? The speed running the mansion?
This would be the perfect way, too, but...
Nintendo, they're on to us.
Oh, God.
In terms of not getting the right audience, things that piss us off, broadly speaking, we've got a segment about things that piss us off. Parentheses non-AI edition.
We're going to give AI a break in this episode.
To be clear, us giving AI a break is for our sakes. Still fuck AI, burn down your local data center.
Yes.
Yes. I love that we have this category. Behind the scenes, I was very confused because we have the category of things that we hate that are AI, and then we have this category of things that we hate that are not AI. And I was like, this is very much the bit where it's everything you learn in Harvard Business School versus everything they don't teach you in Harvard Business School. We're covering it all.
Everything that sucks you can learn about on this podcast.
And then, we'll cover them.
Yeah.
What's your name for this category, Pants?
I have entitled this segment, I am going to become the Jonkler. I am going to become the Jonkler. The name comes from the often repeated sentiment of I am going to become the Joker, but becoming the Joker when we're talking about the DC Comics Joker, there are some people who say that in a really weird way because they have a really weird relationship with the Joker.
Oh no, really? I would never have thought.
And a really weird alt-right tint to it. This is Joker from Persona 5. Or sorry, Jonkler Persona 5 is his legal name.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's Joker in Persona 5? I've never heard of that person.
It's more I am going to become the Jonkler in terms of Persona 5 Awakening, where the sheer force of righteous fury and indignation awakening you to higher consciousness and edgy outfits. So that's really the energy that we're bringing to this segment.
With hate wide open.
So the energy is, are you jelly?
Roxel, I believe you are the one who is pissed off this episode. Would you like to tell us what you're pissed off about?
It's hard to necessarily categorize this as being a level of pissed off, but I do think it is something that's frustrating. The thing that I'm frustrated with is the Switch 2 feature of handheld boost and its particular application in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
What is handheld boost?
So handheld boost was a feature that was released by Nintendo about, I think, a few weeks ago. What it does, it forces games running in handheld mode on your Switch 2 to run the output resolution as if it were in docked mode.
Okay.
Yeah, so for people who may be like unfamiliar with the way that the Switch handles output resolution, the Switch allows developers to configure what's effectively two different graphical modes, where handheld mode, for the original Switch, its screen was 720p. The game would run at a lower resolution in order to sort of optimize its performance. But once you placed it in the docked and it would output to your TV, it would run at a higher resolution, because if you have a bigger screen, it runs at a higher resolution. You want to make sure that output resolution matches what your screen can output. Otherwise, you experience blur and you get a less attractive image. One of the big issues when the Switch 2 was released was, for many games, what's an original Switch 1 game on your Switch 2, it was still configured in handheld mode to output as if it was outputting a 720p resolution.
Yeah. The Switch 2 is just like a much more powerful device than the original Switch. So like if you aren't actually getting better graphics, it's weird.
Yeah. And the big problem with this is, yes, the Switch 2 is obviously a more powerful system, but from Switch 1 to Switch 2, the resolution of the screen on the device went from 720p to 1080p now. And that's the case for a lot of games. When the Switch 2 was first released, say Fire Emblem Three Houses, a very like aesthetically pleasant game, in handheld, it would run as if it was 720p, and that would output to the 1080p screen on Switch 2 and would look blurry. It would look unpleasant.
Yeah.
Question you could ask is, all right, well, why don't developers just all make new versions of their games compatible with Switch 2 and increase their output resolution? Well,
developer time.
You just do it. It's easy.
Yeah. It's easy to just completely configure a new graphical. No, like
especially for games that you may have finished years ago.
Right. Like you've moved on to a completely new project.
You might have been laid off because this industry sucks.
And handheld boost is in a way like a very backwards compatible, friendly choice on Nintendo's part. And it is really a boon to the device, because it frees up developers from having to make Switch 2 specific versions of their games.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, it will allow any user to find an old game in their library, run it in handheld boost, and get a native image on their handheld device. I think it sort of underscores the way that the Switch 2 is responding to a new market of PC handhelds. The Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Lenovo Legion Go, these other PC handhelds are sort of setting like a new standard for what do we think of in terms of a handheld device and what it's capable of. It allows you the sort of flexibility and configuration of the PC platform.
Which is very antithetical to like the design philosophy of Nintendo. Configurable is not how they roll.
No.
Yeah. Precisely.
The Switch started a lot of the more powerful handheld discussion that like has permeated through gaming for the past decade.
Yeah.
Before that, it was very much like handheld games with a different category of thing.
Right.
And like I can definitely see how the Switch 2 is like responding to the change in the landscape that they created. The Steam Deck is an entirely different demon than the Switch. For better and for worse in some ways. It's more configurable, and sometimes you can like shoot yourself in the foot in that way. But it also means you can play more games to the settings that are good for you. It seems like, as you were saying, that this is like an attempt from Nintendo to do something like that.
Yeah, I think in like an attempt, like, might be like a more generous way of like describing like Nintendo's intentionality behind this. I think ultimately, I feel like one of the big issues Nintendo would have to like navigate as a result of just the overwhelming epoch-defining success of the Switch 1 is that they were figuring out how do we migrate this enormous body of users onto this new platform without making that transition unappealing or like maybe like economically problematic.
Yeah.
Handheld boost, other backwards compatibility like efforts are a way to ease that transition or incentivize people to migrate from the Switch 1 platform to Switch 2 with that sense of confidence of like, oh, my old games, my library that I developed. If you actually look at the like specs of a Switch 2, it's actually eerily similar to technologies and specs that we're seeing in different handhelds. It's a 120 hertz screen, VRR, HDR capable asterisks. Handheld boost underscores the way the Switch 2 is, in a way, making an approach that's adjacent to, inspired by, and responding to a PC handhelds, but ultimately it reveals the device's limits as a walled garden.
Mm-hmm.
The point that really sort of brings us out. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came out in 2020, 2021, which is basically take Legend of Zelda characters, place them in the mechanical context of a Dynasty Warriors game, where you are a individual warrior entering a battlefield with hundreds, thousands of mob enemies, and you are mowing them down wide swaths.
If you're somebody that like heard the like grind is good take and you're like, yeah, I do love to just kill monsters and be a menace to society in that way, these are a game for you where you just like are mowing down hordes of enemies.
And it also explains why this sort of game might have performance problems. A lot of enemies on screen is a lot of models that have to be rendered.
It's not just limited to a GPU problem. It's like almost maybe fundamentally like a CPU problem of having to render that number of enemies. This game sticks in my memory because I think it was one of the first examples, along with like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, that really sort of like articulated to me the limitations of the Switch 1.
Yeah.
And really is what sort of drove me into the PC handheld realm with the Steam Deck.
Genuinely game-breaking performance issues, not just, oh, it doesn't look great. I fell through the world because it didn't render properly.
Yeah.
Or it's supposed to give me 30 FPS and it's giving me 10.
Yeah. And really it's sort of the FPS component for Age of Hyrule is really what sort of like got me, because I adore the Legend of Zelda series. It's one of the sort of pillar franchises in my life. Some of my most distinct memories as like a person beyond just as a player are rooted in like the Legend of Zelda. That series has gotten me through various sort of traumatic and like very like troublesome like chapters of my life. And so when I like saw like the Age of Calamity had a demo, I was really excited. When I played the demo on Switch 1, it ran horrendously. This is a game that purports to be locked to 30 FPS, but fails miserably to be in any sort of atmosphere of 30 FPS. It not only put me off from purchasing the game, but it genuinely made me sort of clamor and crave, back in 2020, roughly, a Switch 2 more than anything else in my life.
Or there was a lot of like, oh, we want the Switch Pro.
And ultimately, eventually we did get that in, 2025.
A few years after you wanted it, yeah.
Yeah. That's just how it is sometimes. And so when I thought, okay, let me actually, it's time now. I've got the big kid Switch. I've spent, a third of my rent on this. Finally make the leap and buy Age of Calamity and run it on Switch 2. I run it, and in handheld, it's locked at a 30 FPS. Competent. From like a mechanical, like a sort of like frame perspective, it's excellent. However, I'm not running it in handheld boost. So the actual image is at 720p. And like I mentioned earlier, 720p is unpleasant. It just felt very cluttered. It was really hard to sort of like make out sort of like what I was reading on the screen, especially with the proliferation of enemies. And so I thought, hey, Daddy Nintendo has come up with this fancy new setting.
I don't think of Nintendo as daddy, but
all right,
proceed.
Reggie Nintendo came up with this
Daddy Shigeru.
Daddy Shigeru.
So much worse.
Daddy Bowser.
Yes,
right.
okay, yes, we're here. Yeah.
Doug Bowser, I mean.
Dougie Bowser.
To flip it, Shigeru Miyamami.
Ah.
I can
Still
dig
bad.
that. I can dig that. Yeah.
But yeah, intriguing.
Listen, we appeal to the bros and the sapphics. We come together and we join in this moment of disappointment because Age of Calamity in handheld boost mode. Yes, I got a clear 1080p image, but it's as if the ghosts of Christmas past have emerged up from the pixels of the screen. It was chugging. I would have it these drops.
You got a 1080p image, but the singular is actually correct.
Exactly. It's frustrating for a number of different reasons because Age of Calamity is still locked at 30 FPS. Why is that problematic? Well, if it was unlocked or it was running at a higher FPS, it could hit the VRR window, so the variable refresh rate window, which is a technology that the Switch 2 has that could smooth out that judder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that's not possible. It's a Switch. It is a console. Me as an end user, I don't have access to the settings to manipulate the graphical configuration of this game in order to get it to run optimally. Right?
Which is the problem with Nintendo as a platform where
It's the walled garden approach. Yeah, everything is a walled garden.
Yeah. And obviously it's oh, boo-hoo, why am I crying over this? I guess I'm just sort of crying or sort of lamenting this, but
You don't have to cry, you just have to become the jonkler.
yeah, that's the rule.
I'm jonkling all the way to this take.
How junked are you?
On a scale of 1 to jonk, how jonked are you?
I am jonking like nobody's business about this.
Oh shit, that's serious.
That's serious. On a scale from 1 to 60 junks per minute.
I'm all junked
I
up.
think this is a compelling example. The Switch 2 is in so many ways a strange device. It is attempting to give its most rabid, technically savvy fan base something that is ultimately antithetical to the very kind of machine that it is. Console is meant to be a walled garden. A console is meant to be a one-size-fits-all approach. That's the compromise you make with sort of the console format, and that's the only thing you're going to be able to engage with as a user. What the Switch 2 offers in terms of technical grunt feels so thoroughly constrained by the kind of machine that it is. If in this magical idyllic world that I wish we lived in, where you could run Nintendo software legally on an open platform like a PC, you could configure the graphical settings to meet the level that you need to have a optimal, pleasant, efficient experience, that would be great. But ultimately, that's not the kind of device that the Switch 2 is. What is this going to sort of say about the console as a format, but also Nintendo's relationship to backwards compatibility as a thing? Yeah, that's me. I am jonked out.
Just jonk it out. Yeah.
Just junk it out. We all gotta junk off sometimes,
Yep.
Gotta hate I said that in a mic.
Sometimes you junk the bear, sometimes the bear junks you.
I
don't know if that's true, actually.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean? Hey, wait, what does that mean? Also, we didn't settle who won the last game, which I think is Roxel.
No! Oh, God, I got cooked. I will claim the moral victory of maintaining my Donkey Kong 64 pervert creds. That's enough.
I showed up and I'm alive, and so I did better than I ever thought I could.
You know more about speedrunning now, and also as winner of the game, you get to determine what the P stands for whenever we play it next.
I think we hold this to the next episode. I need to dwell on this. Our dear listener, You have two things to look forward to. One, what I will determine P to stand for, but also my other memorable BlackBerry story.
So much to look forward to. Any news items you want to touch on very briefly?
Switch 2 getting more expensive, and that's rough.
Yeah, what the fuck's up with that?
More expensive for less performance, as you're saying.
I think it is just a sign of the times that we live in. Gaming consoles are getting more expensive because I believe that the term Donkey Kong 64 pervert was used with love. When I say AI perverts, I do not say it with love. The AI perverts are driving up the prices of consoles across the board.
I'll put this in perspective because I just did a quick Google. A lot of older consoles will increase in price just by like lack of availability.
Yeah.
If you went to go buy a Game Boy Color today, I saw them being sold at a local like retro store near me for about $120. The Game Boy Color was originally sold for $80, which is inflation equivalent of $160, which means it's still cheaper than it was sold. And that's been 23 years ago. I bought a Switch last year and it's now accrued in value.
I bought a launch Xbox Series S. You realize how much like that's accumulated in value? It's wild. It has been said by more informed, smarter, and more eloquent people that the increasing cost of consoles bodes very poorly for what the cost of the next generation of consoles are going to be. But also the way that gaming as a category is becoming more and more of a luxury hobby. It's despairing in a way because video games have had to wrestle against the commodification at its nascent state.
During the original sin.
Video game consoles and devices were very much categorized as first like an electronic commodity and then as a toy commodity marketed primarily to boys.
Yeah.
Yes, ultimately under late-stage capitalism, all forms of expression and culture in some way are exposed to these forces of commodification and objectification. But for a art form that is as dear to us and that has inspired us to come together and make this podcast, and it's been a forward for our friendship and communities that have been critical to not only like our upbringing, our develop, our curiosity, like our sense of like well-being in this world.
Video games are pretty okay.
Yeah, they're all right.
For the entry point for video games to become more and more sequestered off based on how much money you make or what you have access to or what sacrifices you're willing to make in order to get the latest console, it's concerning. It sucks. You know,
it sucks. The days of, okay, like maybe don't buy a full-fledged console, which is a couple $100s, buy a Game Boy, which is $50 to $80. There's no easy entry point like that anymore unless you already own a pretty good PC. I hate to say it this way. I feel like it's only going to get worse because both because the consoles, the hardware will continue to compete with AI data centers and stuff like that, and therefore will become more expensive. On top of that, we also in the last year and a half have just gotten a surfeit of extraordinarily good games that cost $20 to $25 that took 7 to 8 years to make. We're not going to have that next year. Silksong 2 isn't coming out next year.
Probably not.
Unless Team Cherry has like really been doing stuff behind the scenes.
Silksong DLC might come out next year. Actually, it's supposed to come out this year.
Sure, we'll get that, but like we're not going to get a full-fledged new Silksong in like 2027. That is another, you can play this game for 150 hours for $20 if you want to and like enjoy it.
It would be good if things like the handheld boost mode worked because like these consoles are just going to have to last longer than people expect them to.
Yeah.
I remember a year ago there was news that like the PlayStation 6 was going to come out any day now, and that's been shelved because like Sony is not about to like release the PlayStation into this market.
No.
Having to sell a soul for one stick of RAM. I'll say also this conversation leads me to not actually a full game, but just a question I want to ask the three of us, which is, do we want to predict the price of the Steam Machine knowing that it'll probably come out soon, the news, and it'll be funny to be immediately wrong about this?
There's no way it's going to cost. It's going to come in two configurations.
Yeah, but we got to think about like base, but like,
This is me being generous. I do not think it costs cheaper than $800. I really want to say I don't think it costs cheaper than $900, but for a similar spec machine, even if you're accounting for Valve like really trying to eat into its margins and sell this at a loss, which I don't think even really makes sense in this device category.
I don't think they sell it at a loss, no.
They've said they won't.
I'll say generously, no way it costs less than $800.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say in like the $950 range.
My guess was $1099.
Ooh.
Which is it hurts, but like...
Unfortunately, you're probably right.
Like, let me double check my numbers, but what is the PS5 going for nowadays?
$599?
Yeah, the PS5 is going for $650.
Which is crazy.
PS5 Pro is going for $900. The Steam Machine is supposed to be more powerful than a, like, at least equivalently powerful
And it's got a Steam library instead of a PS5 library.
Yeah.
If I have sort of to close on like my sort of like a perspective on this, I think in this moment we need to think critically about what is our relationship to the historical like legacy alt software in video games, and how do we make that accessible? Because there is a glut of classic games and singular experiences that can run on a variety of hardware that are fairly like inexpensive to obtain. And two, what are the kind of ecosystems that we want to invest in, literally both in terms of like our money but also our time and our values? I don't regret like getting a Switch 2 because it allows me to be able to play with you two and, you know, play with, you know, my spouse when the next Pokemon game comes in. Yeah. But I hate that those are the sort of decisions that I'm forced to make because the garden of like software and like multiplayer capabilities are locked behind like a certain device. It is something you just need to sort of think about in terms of what is my relationship to this medium and how can I ensure that I can nurture it while finding like systems and paradigms that allow me to do this sustainably over time. Because you shouldn't have to get the newest thing. You shouldn't have to sacrifice a library to go on to the next generation. You shouldn't have to be walled off from your friends and community to engage in this together. Because multi-million or multi-billion dollar corporation thinks, no, you have to play in my garden. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, y'all. Pants in the editing booth here, just jumping in to clarify. At this point in the conversation, Roxel Voxel drops off due to the exigencies of having a small human to take care of. Didn't want that to be jarring for anyone. Just expect that you will not hear Roxel's voice very much from this point forward because they were busy taking care of a small human.
I think this is why efforts to lengthen the lifespan of consoles to allow kind of right to repair laws and to allow people to play consoles and use consoles that fit them is like really important here because people were up in arms like a year ago about the PlayStation 3 marketplace being shut down. You might think, who's still on the PlayStation 3 nowadays? It's people who can't afford a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, and they deserve to be able to play games, to like be able to like stay in this ecosystem. Like, I know that developers shouldn't have to support things forever, asterisk on this whole conversation. I think it's why game preservation matters as a practice, because it's so important for people to be able to experience these incredible gameplay, these incredible stories, and not have this lost to time just because they either can't afford to stay with a modern version of the hobby or because developers discontinue, lock people out, you know, what have you.
Dare we mention emulation as a good thing?
You know, Roxa was talking about ways of staying relevant and playing games. Emulation is a great way to play a lot of old games.
Yeah.
We're not lawyers. Don't talk to us about law.
Find a way to do it that will not get you in legal trouble, but it's a very valid way of experiencing the game.
On the iPhone and on Android, you can download emulators. If you want to go and play through some of the Pokemon games and speedrun them there, do it.
Absolutely. Because sort of an alternative to that we've witnessed in the news recently is Fire Red and Leaf Green, literally just a re-release on the Switch 2. Like, they did absolutely nothing to them. These are ROMs.
Yep.
20-something-year-old games. And they sold a casual...
And isn't it going for like $20-$30?
4 million copies. So yes, they just, with a 20-something-year-old ROM, printed $80 million. That is exactly why Nintendo has no vested incentive to make it easy to play their old games, because they can re-release them and make $80 million off of them. If you want to explore ways of doing this, you have to be willing to say Nintendo does not have a vested interest in me being able to do it cheaply and in any timeline that I care about.
Yeah, because like there was no promises that they would ever release that at all. Like, I mean, people have been asking for re-releases of Fire Red for years.
100%. I do have to give them some amount of credit because there is an entire back catalog of games they have the ROMs for. They could re-release in places. The vast majority of those we'll just never see. I am in favor of them printing a legal way to re-experience these games or experience them for the first time if you didn't get a chance to play them the first time around. It's just also they have a vested incentive to treat that as a cash printer.
The other thing about ROMs here is there have been a lot of stories about companies that will like rely upon people who create ROMs of old games and then basically re-release the ROMs that have been created under the table by people that they also will send cease and desist to. And I think it's perverse incentives on Nintendo and just
Predatory,
an abuse of the audience in that way where it's, oh yeah, we'd love for you to play old games. Unfortunately, we're not going to put in the effort to make them. And then we're going to punish the people who do put in the effort to make them available. And then we're going to steal the product of those people's work and then resell it to people because we own the rights. I understand a lot of the copyright discussion when it comes to like small creators and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't be stealing the copyright of somebody's art on Tumblr that you just see. But like Nintendo will be fine. What do we say? Miyamami,
yeah.
Woo. We were going with that one. I think they'll be fine.
Got those big money milkers.
Big money milkers.
We can't have that in no.
And that's the podcast. Thank you all for coming here today.
I apologize deeply for my sins. I'm not even the Catholic one. Should we briefly do the other segment that we have here, which is a new segment that I have very intelligently named question mark?
Sure.
I think the naming will be extremely self-explanatory when I read the headline of the article that is the main topic for question mark this episode. GameStop offers $56 billion for eBay, struggles to explain how it will pay for it.
Well, I mean, isn't it obvious how they're going to pay for it? GameStop is going to the moon.
It's even better when you get to the lead. GameStop yesterday made an unsolicited offer to buy eBay for $55.5 billion. eBay wasn't even like, man, we're struggling financially. We need someone to acquire us. GameStop was just like, hey.
Which, like, what? If you've ever sold an old game or like console to GameStop, you know they are never offering the correct price anyway. So like,
does this imply that eBay is actually worth $500 billion?
Like, I mean, gotta get that GameStop tax. It is buck wild for them to try to do this.
Yeah.
They're a failing company.
Very failing, like famously failing.
Whose decision was this?
That's a very good question.
Maybe GameStop saw that the whole thing with Paramount buying Warner Brothers Discovery was going through the news and everybody got a ton of coverage and it made everybody's stocks go up and it was like a huge thing that was, being discussed everywhere. And they're like, oh yeah, we can do that too. But the difference is there's complicated stories with that purchasing, much of which is tied to the shittiness of our government and the shittiness of the Saudi Arabian government.
Yeah.
But they had the cash. GameStop has all the shit and none of the simoleons.
I'm reading from an Ars Technica article, which we'll have in the show notes. These are exactly the questions that they got asked by the media. So this was on CNBC. Andrew Sorkin, the anchor, kind of just pointed out, hey, the math literally does not make any sense. Like he essentially said question mark in real life. GameStop's market cap, cash, investments, potential financing from TD Securities, which is private equity. If you add all of that together, it adds up to $40 billion. Recall that the listed offer was $56 billion. So they're just like apparently assuming that $16 billion will
appear
from thin air. Sorkin followed up by asking where the rest of the money comes from. Cohen answered, quote, "It's half cash, half stock," unquote.
What is it? Does that mean that they have $16 billion just somewhere?
I don't understand your question. We're offering half cash, half stock, and we have the ability to issue stock in order to get the deal done. That's not how issuing stock works.
Okay, but
you don't get to keep the same stock price and just issue additional units of it. It dilutes.
And the very funny thing about like diluting stock in that way, that's the crux of a lot of like the GameStop cult. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah. Listeners, I would definitely point you to
literally a cult. Yes.
I think it's called To the Moon, the Folding Ideas video about GameStop stock, meme stocks, and then also how it became a doomsday cult that like literally believed that if they held GameStop stock, it would eventually crash the economy such that everyone would have to buy out their stock and they would run the new world order.
Right.
None of what I've said is hyperbole. It is in fact somewhat underselling.
I don't think that the GameStop CEO is even like playing into that. I think he's just assuming like by showing we have this sort of motion, we're going to get another meme stock investment plunge.
That does sometimes work in business. Like the stock market is just
gambling?
Yeah, it's gambling. It's a field of lemmings just trying to go wherever they think will work.
It looks like it's gambling, but it's actually fraud.
Well, nowadays, especially with prediction markets, it's a mixture of gambling and fraud. You get to pick.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
God.
I don't get this at all. I feel like this is only even tangentially related to like the subject of our podcast because it happens to be GameStop. This is just a very weird thing. This is a very strange thing that is happening, and I find it very funny.
Like how, what, where, when, why?
None of the basic questions have been answered. None of them have an easy answer.
You know, maybe the stock market works differently than I think. Maybe you can just print money out of nowhere and it'll work. I don't think GameStop should own eBay.
No, I absolutely... People use eBay for stuff. I don't want the people at GameStop running eBay. Like, my mom uses that platform.
Do you think the now probably 15-year-old like GameStop membership ID that I have would have more weight if they buy eBay?
I can only assume yes.
You know, power to the players. I had all of those Game Informers. That is like, unfortunately, a core memory for me. So... And so if I think they shouldn't buy eBay, they should take a good hard look at themselves. I'm talking about the GameStop in the mirror.
Speaking of taking a hard look at themselves, people that should be taking a hard look at themselves but aren't currently are the people review bombing Slay the Spire 2.
God.
Have you've heard of this story?
Not fully. If you want to start from the top...
So, Slay the Spire 2 has been review bombed a few times. One of these is a little more nuanced and, in my opinion, more interesting. The first round of review bombs came from the first balance patch that they put out. The very initial release in early access of Slay the Spire 2, it was really easy to go infinite on every character. It was like an overwhelmingly dominant strategy. Get card removes, exhaust down your deck, basically take no cards, and get down to the point where you can play an infinite, which is a very valid way to win the game, but in my opinion, a very boring one, both in terms of it being boring to play. Literally, it's you're clicking the same button a bunch of times and it's like not interesting. But also it's not interesting because you don't have to react to what the game does. You just build the same extremely straightforward linear strategy every single time, which is very antithetical to what makes Slay the Spire good. When they nerfed infinite strategies, a subsection of the player base that likes to play infinites review bombed the game. There's no way to say this that isn't going to sound kind of sus when I say it, but like I promise there is context I will give. This was largely the Chinese player base.
Which like is a thing that I'm like somewhat familiar with, but as somebody, I don't really use Steam reviews a lot. I get like a lot of my game recommendations from like The Aftermath or Rock, Paper, Shotgun or what have you, or the other people on this podcast.
Word of mouth, My understanding is that a big reason why Steam reviews specifically are used by the Chinese audience is because they can't use Discord. They can't use the feedback form in the game. It like breaks whatever firewall they have.
Yeah, the Great Firewall of China.
Effectively, like the only way that they can get a message directly to the developer is to review the game on Steam. Me saying it is largely the Chinese audience doing this is not me saying like, oh, the Chinese gaming culture is bad. Like very much not so. Like there are actual legitimate technical reasons that that's the main forum that they use. I do think that the tenor of some of those reviews is really unfortunate because again, to me, what makes a game like Slay the Spire so fascinating and so replayable and so fun is that you have to react to what the game is doing. You have to be willing to change your gameplay decisions and which cards you take and which routes you take based on what happens early. There should exist enemies where you're like, oh, if I fight the enemy that deals me damage every time I play a power, I die. So I need to take cards that can beat that enemy. Whereas it like kind of the main complaint was, well, the new door maker makes it impossible to do infinites. Therefore, it is bad game design to have that enemy in the game.
Even as somebody who earlier in this very podcast said that, like, I love to have an I win button where I just click the same button over and over and it goes through the combat. I think with a lot of deck builders, the thing that makes the game a game is that responding to new interactions, to like being forced to build your deck in different ways.
100%. Yeah.
A controversial and weird tepid take I have is like the best way to play Slay the Spire for me. I will play through like a quarter of a run, leave it for a few days, and then come back and I'm like, what the hell deck am I running with? And being able to like just go from the moment and have to figure things out, I think is a great way to have to experience a game.
It's like a super roguelike experience.
Exactly. I want it to be even more rogue and even more like, which is to say, like, I think that these games operate best when you are constantly having to reassess your strategy, get a deeper and more complicated and synergy-minded understanding of your cards.
Yeah.
Like, find the weak points in the battles that allow you to, like, get through them in novel ways. Because, like, these games can be difficult if you're like not familiar with deck builders, but once you learn like a lot of the strategy for deck builders, it's very easy to optimize for them if you're not being challenged.
Yeah.
A very unintuitive thing if you're not familiar with the genre. Actually, you don't want to have a deck. Like, the fewer cards you have, the better cards you will have, because, you know, a lot of the times you want to be drawing into things consistently and being able to guarantee stuff. And so, like, having games that let you exploit that and easily, you know, reduce your deck and only include the cards you want and force you to never have to, like, think about cards in weird and interesting ways is bad game design. And it's good that they changed that. But it's also what early access is for. Because, like, you can't predict every infinite, no matter how good you are.
The reason that this particular patch got review bombed was largely the Doormaker. There's a boss called the Doormaker. There was RIP 2026 to 2026, always in our hearts. There was a boss called the Doormaker. We need like
a Sarah McLachlan. In arms wide open. Wait, no, that's not. That's Creed. That's what I was in earlier.
That's better.
What's the Sarah McLachlan one?
In the Doors of the Angels.
In the Doors of the Angels.
For context for our audience, an infinite in Slay the Spire, I'll give an example of a very basic infinite. If you have fewer than 10 cards in your deck, 10 is your max hand size. So if you have fewer than 10 cards in your deck, you can hold 8 of them in your hand, have one card called Flash of Steel, which hits an enemy for 5 damage and draws 1 card. If you have another Flash of Steel in your discard pile, you will draw that Flash of Steel. The one that you just played gets discarded. And then you can play the Flash of Steel that you just played, draw the Flash of Steel that you just discarded. You can loop 2 Flash of Steels infinitely because they cost 0 energy. They cost 0 resources. And what the Doormaker in the new patch did was it said every 10th card that you draw, the Doormaker steals for the rest of the fight. It's gone. So if you tried to loop one Flash of Steel into another Flash of Steel over and over and over and over again, he would steal that Flash of Steel and your infinite would be broken.
More like Flash of STEAL.
Hey. Exactly, yeah. So that was one of the big reasons that like the game got review bombed initially was people wanted those Flash of Steel infinites or, you know, just infinites in general where you're trying to play the same loop of a few cards for net 0 resources. And again, like it's very linear. You do it regardless of what you're up against. And people hated that now there was a thing that countered that strategy and they review bombed the game because of it. And like I have problems with this because I think it's inappropriately trying to like basically force the hand of the developers in a specific direction when like they made Slay the Spire. Trust their game design instincts. They're going to make a good game, play their game. This is not actually the review bombing that like I really have an issue with though. The new review bombing that happened just this past week, they like released the credits. Like you beat the game, you get to the credits now. And people noticed in the credits, and I am so sorry for bringing this name up in 2026 and bringing up all of the memories of Gamergate that it is going to summon in people's minds. They noticed Anita Sarkeesian was a consultant on Slay the Spire 2. And as you would expect, the absolute worst people in existence got up in arms because the person that they think ruined gaming forever was associated with a game that they had played and liked. Or, in many cases, that they had not played and liked but knew was popular.
Yeah.
Slay the Spire 2 got, like, a gigantic review bomb. People saying, like, this is the worst game ever. Like, it literally took the game from overwhelmingly positive on Steam to mostly negative. That's, like, the volume of review bombing that we're talking about. And it's entirely misogynist. bigots, and just like the worst, greasiest, stinkiest men who have ever used a computer.
It is wild how much doing this is in lockstep for what happened in Gamergate 1. Now that we're, I guess, in Gamergate 2. I hate to say,
localized Gamergate 2.
Let's not talk about it too loudly. It doesn't need to go further, even though this already right now sucks a lot. And not to give a history of Gamergate, there's a lot of resources that,
Yeah.
It is something that has like really affected my history with games and personally, but also like the field at large.
Yeah.
In a period in the mid 2010s, things went from like, it was never good, but like there were more women and people of color, emphasis on women, especially with Gamergate, getting audiences at large platforms. And then the way in which things like immediately changed due to just fucking shit asses on the internet being as misogynistic as possible.
Literally just lies. Yeah. Like lying as much and as misogynistically as possible.
And in many ways, the underpinning of Gamergate led us to the politics we have now.
Yeah.
Weird to say, but you look at the way in which people were entrenched in their demonstrably incorrect opinions, talking about like kind of GameStop and cultish behavior. Many of that led itself to the alt-right and the people who ended up helping Trump get elected.
Yeah.
That's why it's extra bad to see this re-emerging in Slay the Spire in the form of like Anita Sarkeesian is like a person. Like she's out here doing stuff and has been for the past decade. And like this is something that she's been able to just have a career and do. It sucks to like have people use this as a way to launch this old, terrible, tired, and awfully sexist attacks on Slay the Spire. And more pointedly, on Anita Sarkeesian. Like, she's been
100%,
the person who's been most harmed by this both before and now. And that's what, like, the shitty thing, whether or not you want Slay the Spire to have infinites in it, that's like a gameplay decision. I think that the game will be better if you're not able to effortlessly beat every single boss with a predetermined combo. But, like, that is less tied with the dehumanization that this second review bombing like kind of stems from, where it's like
the first one is like basically a protest of certain gameplay mechanics, which is like, that's fine. The second review bombing is like, if I voiced my genuine opinion on what should happen to all of the people who were doing the review bombing and like leading to the harassment, dragging Anita's name through the mud and attacking her and all of that again, like I would go to jail if I said what I think should happen to them.
Just fill in the blanks in your own mind. Don't write that as a comment and a review for us, but just write it to yourself in your own journal.
Please don't. If you do, send it on an end-to-end encrypted platform.
Of which there are fewer and fewer every day. The internet's getting worse.
This is a good example. The internet is absolutely getting worse. So yeah, that's a fun thing that's happening right now on the internet.
I don't think we should do Gamergate again. I think it was pretty bad.
No. Extremely terrible for a lot of people.
And that's podcasts. That's the news. Do we want to talk about Mina?
Hey.
Do we want to talk about Mina the Howler?
Mina the Hollower?
Thank you. Yeah, let's end on good news.
Mina the Hollower is Yacht Club Games, the creator of what I know them best for, Shovel Knight. They have a new game coming out. It looks really fun. It's coming out at the end of May for like $20, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Another one of those indie darlings that is propping up the playing games for not $1 trillion economy that we live in for at least a minute.
I'm just so very excited for this because they have been in the Shovel Knight universe forever.
Yeah.
For like the last decade. And it's a good universe. Like, great game. I really loved it. I played it originally on the, I think, 3DS. I've been wanting to see a new thing from them. They always have a good touch with Shovel Knight and the different iterations they've done in that world since. Understanding the most interesting mechanics and aesthetics from old games. Like, their games are all pixel art. Their games all have like a retro feel in a way that they would be really in line with what you would see in like a Super Nintendo or what have you. But they also have such like novel, fascinating mechanics, like with Shovel Knight, the way in which you can break through the world in different ways, that you can like parry attacks by like hitting with good timing and hit from the top in order to bounce on enemies. Great movement mechanics and like excellent minute-to-minute gameplay that like really goes above and beyond. And so I'm just very curious to see what they do when they like turn that mine into Mina the Hollower, which is like, if Shovel Knight was somewhat like it's
like a Mega Man with a lot more variety in the types of movement and the types of like ways of engaging with the environment that the characters have. The King Knight campaign is like almost Super Mario 3-esque, which is like kind of fascinating. Mina the Hollower is more like a Link's Awakening, right?
Yeah, I love adventure games. I love
Me
that
too.
whole genre. Yeah. I have not beaten Link to the Past, but every year or so, I will just like restart it and then get halfway through and then get distracted by another new game that comes out. So I need to go back and finish that. It's a good game.
It's a real fun game. Yeah.
All of the first halves that I've played throughout my times of playing that game are great, and I love it. That's why I keep doing it. The ending's probably good too.
I think that this game's going to be a lot of fun. I am going to go out on a limb and recommend to our audience, if you enjoy adventure games, if you enjoy pixel art, fun games where you kind of walk around the world and discover stuff, consider getting Mina the Hollower when it comes out on May 29th for $20. I certainly will be.
Do you want to wrap up with a few corrections, what we're playing? I know that I have not watched any One Piece. Have you watched any Hunter x Hunter?
I have been traveling in a different country. I have not watched a single episode of Hunter x Hunter since the last time we recorded. So, no.
Can I use our anime hour shouting out, God, which hat Altair?
Oh, Witch Hat Atelier, yeah.
Thank you, Witch Hat Atelier. It's so damn good, that art.
I haven't watched it. Again, I've been out of the country. It's good is what I'm getting from this.
It is so beautiful. Every single episode, and has like a interestingly crafted magic system.
Any like interesting tidbits on why it's so cool?
I think it is okay for you to know that magic exists, especially because it is declared by the protagonist within the first 5 seconds of the show. I love magic. It's so cool.
I sure do love living in a world that magic exists in.
Literally, it's the first page. But she doesn't know how magic works, and you shouldn't either until you've watched the first episode.
I like that, actually. I like that a lot, where like kind of the character has to learn how magic works, and you learn with them. That's fun. That's fun. Okay, I'll have to check it out.
The show's doing big stuff, and I'm fascinated once you have time to watch it.
I will get to it at some point, yeah. Yeah, no, that's good for the anime hour. In terms of what we're playing, again, I've been traveling. I haven't been playing much. I have been playing a game called Slay the Spire 1 on iOS.
I hear it's good. I wonder if it'll ever come out with a sequel.
That's crazy. I don't know. Like,
it's perfect already.
I think they used up all of their ideas in the first game.
I might actually, I'm going to be on a plane relatively soon, and I might like do some Slay the Spire 1 too, because like,
hell yeah.
Because like, I mean, yeah, it's a good game, and like it's much more accessible to play on your phone.
Yes.
And I really want to be able to like compare and contrast the two of them.
Yeah.
From your like recent experience playing both 1 and 2, what's like differences in design and differences in like play style that you could like that you notice by having that immediate compare and contrast?
I have to go to the field of ecology for the best comparison.
Yeah.
So you know how we have a problem with deer. There are just too many deer in America. The deer are overrunning our streets. They are crashing into our vehicles. They are eating our important grasses that prevent erosion of rivers, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We have a deer problem. And the problem is because we don't have wolves to eat the deer. Yeah. We've driven the wolves out. We've killed the wolves.
I love that poem, Yellowstone Wolves.
Good fucking poem, yeah. That is essentially, in many ways, Slay the Spire 2 when it comes to the Silent. The Silent is a problem in Slay the Spire 2. She is disgustingly powerful. And that is because in Slay the Spire 1, the Gremlin Knob was the wolf that eats the Silent. The Gremlin Knob does not exist in Slay the Spire 2.
Remind me what the Gremlin Knob does?
The Gremlin Knob is the one that gains strength every time you play a skill.
Yeah. I remember when I was doing Slay the Spire 1, what would eat through my runs was like the Time Eater.
Time Eater's hard as well, yeah. At high difficulty levels, the Silent is so at risk of just instantly dying the first elite that you hit, because if you roll the 1 and 3 in its Gremlin Knob, the Gremlin Knob just kills you.
I'm curious if they do eventually balance the Silent in that way in Slay the Spire 2.
I think they absolutely have to. They need to just introduce more enemies that interact meaningfully with what the Silent does.
The weird thing about early access, especially with this kind of game, is that it is easy to extrapolate an in-game just from like the piece that you're given. Mm-hmm. It's a good game already. Slay the Spire 2 is already very good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And if they didn't do anything to it other than like maybe update the art slightly to be more consistent, that's a finished game.
Adding Act 4 would be like, the game's finished.
But like, there's still so much balancing and adapting to play styles and stuff like that. Things that might be controversial to people's play styles as they like get accustomed to things, they could still benefit the game in a lot of ways to give it
100%
a variety of different ways to approach things, because I don't think people want to play a game where you always know the right answers.
In Slay the Spire 2, I feel like if you get to Act 3, you've already won. The Act 3 bosses do not meaningfully do anything. Ever since they took away the Doormaker 2026, RIP, always in our hearts.
This is a Doormaker Truther podcast.
That is what separates us from the animals, is the Doormaker.
Exactly.
What have you been playing lately, though?
I have been playing Titanium Court, which is such a surprising game in every turn of the bend.
You gave us a very brief explanation over text, and I did not understand it at all.
I think I gave 2 explanations, both of which are somewhat inadequate of like describing the game. And so there is one approach where you talk about this is a match 3 game.
Like Bejeweled, Candy Crush, those sorts of...
And takes those kind of mechanics, twists them on their head in certain ways. The game is split into 3 phases. The first phase, which is match 3, as you like gain resources. Second phase, you are on kind of a board. Your goal is to use your resources to buy units to attack other things, be able to progress on the board. Think Loop Hero.
Okay, yeah.
I don't have a second one, so just think of that. And like that's like the game of the game. The third part is you're exploring a castle, having RPG-esque interactions with different people that you find there. And so, you know, you'll go up to one person and they'll say a silly thing. You'll go up to another person and they'll say something. And it's kind of like that, where you're like exploring this place, a couple of little puzzles through it. It's mostly narrative. That is like a very simplistic way of describing the game, but it doesn't get to the juice of it, which is the game is incredibly Trickster Fae vibes. The first lines of the game, you are being presented by some sort of like narrator announcing the game saying, this performance, this play is being written in real time. The writers and the performers are in a race to see who's going to win first, and we're going to display this to you, the audience. And I think that's a good way of like getting the tenor and tone of the game.
That sounds very weird in a kind of fascinating and interesting way.
Because like narratively, you go from there and then like you're playing as a character who gets lost in this Fae realm and ends up being, spoiler, the queen of the eponymous Titanium Court.
Ooh.
The Titanium Court is kind of a pun on Titania, the queen in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Shoutouts.
That is something that this game is playing in a space of very acutely. Everything is like very askew. When I say that you're exploring a castle and talking to NPCs, many of these NPCs are just saying nonsensical things. But the aesthetics of the game are like if it was made with 90s clip art, but pixel graphics. And through that, like a lot of the things you're talking about is also the energy.
Picturing the game at all. Oh, wow.
In order to describe this game, I just need to keep throwing things into a blender and like they go in making sense. But once they come out, it's a whole experience. Throw the clip art into the blender. Like...
It gives it a nice chunky aftertaste, yeah?
Yeah. It's like a real middle note for the game. Like the characters are like, there's this guy, you will find out his name is Leland, and he dresses in a tie, eventually goes off to business church, which is called MARKET, like market, but it's all like... It's like an acronym. I don't know what it stands for. And the game may or may not ever tell me. There's like an obsession like silly sports. Like at one point, you find an egg. Your like counsel for your court are like, we need to get that football. And you're like, I think that's an egg. And they're like, no. That's definitely, obviously, clearly a football. You can call a football an egg if you want, but like, we'll humor you. You are the queen. It's now your goal, your duty to keep this with you throughout the entirety of your run.
I'm interested. I'm definitely interested based on this sales pitch.
It's a weird game. Recently, it became weird in a different way than I thought it would be weird. I just need someone else to talk about this game with because it's good.
Speaking of things that are weird, we do have to issue a few corrections from the previous episode. So this is a correction on behalf of both myself and Roxel. We did sneak a couple non-Pokemon by you in the presentation last episode.
Yeah.
You caught a few of them. We did get one by you, and it was actually one of your favorites, as I recall. Platypet, the little platypus with snakebite piercings, is not actually a Pokemon. Platypet comes from a game called Temtem, which I have never played and know absolutely nothing about.
Do you think we could start a petition to add it to be a Pokemon and then I could be retroactively corrected?
We probably could. I'm going to let you take point on that, though.
Dear listeners, please sign my petition. I certainly am going to create that between this time of recording and when this comes out. And so just sign it there.
Most definitely.
And if I haven't created it, then it's on you.
If you do not see a link to that in the show notes, it is because you are not of pure enough heart. Look inward if you do not see that link.
Yeah.
I have one additional correction, which is on behalf of myself. I forgot to bring up the Sneasler rant by the Amanda Files during the main discussion when we were talking about bipedal Pokemon, which is a huge error of both fact and taste. Thankfully, Zintendo, you did add that rant in at the very end of the episode, like as a stinger. Thankfully, that has been corrected already, but I did feel that I need to own up to that error.
And we'll link to the longer video because at the end point just has like the first, 15 seconds of it. And
yeah,
it is one of those kind of videos. Every moment gets better than the last.
Yeah.
I don't know what a Sneasler is. I don't know what a Pokemon is, obviously.
You do know what a Sneasler is. You know that Sneasler is an entrepreneur, a cheerleader, a fully grown woman.
I also think the correction I'd add to the Pokemon conversation is that for almost all of the unevolved Pokemon, the starter versions, I said they were perfect, but I'm going to say in my heart, they're all perfect. They're good when they start. Sometimes they become bad. Yeah, I'm going to correct my past self. And if there's some that I hated, they're perfect in how much I hate them.
Hear that, Incineroar? You're perfect too.
No, just the starters, just like the unevolved version.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you evolved, it's as we grow, we get further from grace, you know? And I think it's good that Pokemon do that too. I sincerely believe that they need to become uglier, and sometimes they do get cuter, and that actually is a sin.
The last main topic we have is recommendations. I've got a bit of a different recommendation this time around. My recommendation is The Dispossessed, which is a novel by Ursula K. Le Guin.
I was looking this up, and I was trying to find out like what genre a novel is, just for the listeners who aren't as familiar with like different gameplay genres.
Yeah.
Novels, also called books, they're like a mix between a text adventure game and like a visual novel. Less visual.
Heavy emphasis on the novel part of visual novel. Yeah. Really bare bones in terms of gameplay mechanics. There's text for you to read, and that, like, you know, you can like click the text box to make it go farther, especially if you're reading on an iPad, where you like literally are clicking it to make it move.
Yeah, but how good is the grind? Like, you know,
you get into that flow state. Yeah, like it's a very good genre for getting you in that flow state. If you're looking for something with complex combat, it's really not.
There's some interactive books. I've died in my choose your own adventures.
This was not one of them, to be fair. Well, I guess it is in a sense. The Dispossessed is essentially, like, if I have to give a very high level synopsis of it, it's sort of an exploration of the idea of, is it possible to have a functioning society that is based on the tenets of anarchism? It is a sci-fi novel. They live on like a very low tech planet. Most of the planet is desert because like they moved there, like they rebelled, and like as part of the agreement that ended that rebellion, they got that planet. And so there's this other much more high-tech planet that is like much more similar to what we have on Earth, where it's very like capitalist system, strong like state control of a lot of things. So you would kind of have that contrast. Like it's a very classic sci-fi-ish contrast between the one world and the other world. It's just fascinating. The characters feel very real, despite the fact that they live in such a the society just looks utterly alien. the fact that they live on a different planet than we live is honestly the easiest thing to understand about how their society works.
I am fascinated by this because, like, a lot of folks read and write dystopia novels from the perspective of it is nearly exactly like our society, but it fell in some sort of like terrible way.
Yeah.
I love the Hunger Games and very much enjoy the place they're exploring. There's a lot of ways in which like the bones of the failures in those books can be found in our current society. Like that is the point of them.
Yeah.
But I also think it is so fascinating to have a book that's exploring something like anarchy because it's something that I don't think a lot of people take seriously as both a philosophical and political movement.
And we don't have examples of it to compare to.
Exactly. As a lefty and, you know, as somebody who thinks a lot about what the end result of leftist politics should be, I think it's so important to like really interrogate that, and having a society that like can engage in that space and be like, part of anarchy is a lack of structure, a lack of hierarchy, but through that, a lack of oppression. What does it mean to create that, and how do we do that well versus fail even in that?
I want to be very clear that The Dispossessed is not, oh, anarchy is a pure utopia. That's not what the book is saying. It's very much, no, I want to explore what a society like this would look like, the good parts and the bad parts.
Part of like the context that I think is necessary for the reader is Ursula K. Le Guin is about that life. She used so much of her writing to advocate for Black people, for women, and for like stories of the dispossessed. Like literally the stories of the people who have been like deliberately obscured and alienated in our society, which makes me much more interested to read this book, because I could read tons of books from conservatives that talk about how an anarchy could fail, but that would be profoundly uninteresting.
Yeah.
Actually, I did do that. I read, this is like the opposite of Shout Out, the Shout Down. In college, I read the Ender Games author who became like hella conservative. He has a book about the downfall of America, and it's such a bad book. Just like a man that like fully doesn't understand either his own politics or anybody else's. It's sometimes interesting to see how people like view the world in that way, even if it's flawed. But even that, it's like, you don't even understand anything enough to be interestingly failed.
Ender's Game is a phenomenal story. Like, it's a phenomenal book. Sometimes people who write a really good book don't have other good ideas, have actively bad ideas about the world.
And thankfully, it's just him. Like, there's no other examples in history of people who made good art but were bad people. I also read a book.
Fun that we're both branching out into new genres.
Yeah. This one, very similar to, like you said, gameplay loop was pretty straightforward, but the storytelling wasn't. I read Private Rights. This is by Julia Armfield, who also wrote Our Wives Under the Sea, a fascinating magical realist tale of a wife whose partner is a submariner who comes back wrong. Her wife goes missing on a submarine like years at a time, and then just like comes back randomly one day and slowly kind of dissolves as a person. It's like about the fallout and grief, understanding of a relationship in that way. Beautiful book, and a good lead into Private Rights, which is also about soaking wet sapphics and magical realism. This book is set in a world in which there's some unexplained cataclysm that happened years ago that made the world just start raining. And it's like a kind of simple apocalypse in that way, where it's just raining every day. At first you're like, what would happen with that? That's not that bad.
Oh, no. Our buildings are not built up to stand to that.
Exactly. Yeah. They're describing like the early days of it, and they're like, I remember some gardener just being like, oh, I'm so glad it's raining. Oh man. Oh boy. You'll find out.
Yeah.
The story revolves around the death of a famous architect, and this is the father of our three main characters who are kind of grieving the loss of their father, and also through that, the book explores their relationships with each other, their relationships with their father, and their relationships with this world. Fascinating ways. It's very much a story in which you can see how the flaws and the distance of their father instilled trauma and other kind of neuroses into the three sisters.
Yeah.
It is fascinating to see how birth order, connection and closeness with the father, and just own personality choices causes that trauma to bloom and blossom in different ways. And like you see also in that like a lot of friction between them, as the way in which toxic scenarios can cause families to turn on themselves.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the book, one of the sisters talks about one of the most difficult things is seeing your sibling who is fighting a version of you that no longer exists, but also you become when you're around them.
Yeah.
I think anybody anybody who's gone home has had that experience. You're known in this deep, longitudinal way of your whole life by your family, but also they don't necessarily know you in certain ways. The friction of that is so frustrating because there's nothing you can do to stop it, and it just feels like a trap you've like walked yourself into, especially in the context of this book in which they're all being forced together to deal with like the wake of their father's death.
Very interesting.
Good. Yeah.
I do love a good magical realist book.
It's hard to explain or find things to like compare it to because it is like two books at once. It is like both the family dynamics aspects, and then in the background, it's just like the world is actively ending.
Yeah. That reminds me a lot of the classics in the magical realist genre. Like Garcia Marquez was like that, where there's this richness of the family dynamic and the way that each person's own private neuroses that stem from how they interact with their family kind of destroy them, but also the way that the family interacting with the larger society and like the backdrop of the larger society plays out, how the impact of post-colonialism plays out and all of that. I feel that it's a genre that lends itself to multi-textured works like that.
Yeah.
Frequently.
You are in and of the world through the perspective of whatever magic is in the magic realism. It can embody the way in which like the world can be like capricious, unforeseeable in how it harms you or helps you. And bring to light as many things that are uninvestigated in our own society, uninvestigated in our own world, to like force it to be weird enough for you to like actually grapple with.
Yeah.
It's not bold to say that the metaphor in this book of like the rain happening forever, not that dissimilar from climate change. And
100%, yeah.
Gives big COVID energy where it's like everybody is like, wow, there's a terrible problem happening to us. We can't solve it, so we're just going to feel bad about it and act irrationally from it. I think it's so good to have books that like can force that kind of perspective through the unfamiliarity of worlds they create.
Absolutely. Pretty good recommendations, it sounds like to me.
Books, good genre, probably up there with better than like RPGs, but worse than deck builders.
Like The Dispossessed is good, but it's no Silksong.
Yeah, exactly. What's the replay value on that?
The Dispossessed doesn't give me any speedrun achievements if I go back and beat it again. We are reaching the end of the time we have for this podcast. We've said it somewhat jokingly through the course of this podcast, but genuinely, like, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a thumbs up in Spotify, whatever it is. If you are enjoying what we do, that genuinely helps us get out there, get more people to hear what we are doing. It helps boost us in the algorithm, make it easier to search up our name, which is, it's got a lot of common words in it. Which is a little bit on us. But like genuinely, if you are appreciating the content that we're making, if you are appreciating these conversations that we have, then please consider leaving a 5-star review, leaving a comment on it.
Telling a friend about it.
Yeah.
Tell obviously your gamer friends and have them rank our takes, but also like, I think that we're funny even if you don't know about the games. And I know some people in my life personally who are like, I don't know what a Silksong is, but I love hearing you say it.
And as always, if you have a take that you want us to see, one of the best ways to do that is to leave it somewhere that is public, that is visible, such as the comment section on our podcast. If you want us to read a take on air, that's one of the best places to put it. Put it there.
Yeah.
You can also follow, we have an account for the show, or I guess I have a personal account that I use essentially just for the show, on B-Sky and on Twitter. Please subscribe as well if you're enjoying the content. I don't know, the normal podcast stuff. If you listen to other podcasts, the stuff that they tell you to do, please do that.
But do it better for us. Like, those other podcasts, they don't need it anymore. They're already up and running. We need it.
We are in the phase of our growth curve where it looks like a flat line at 0. So,
and we're good. I think we're good. Our podcast is one of my like top 10 favorite podcasts. Not the top one.
I mean, we're not that good.
Yeah. On that note, as always, remember to save.
Remember to save.
Now do your Roxel impression.
Remember to save. I don't think that was a very good Roxel impression.
No.
Unfortunately, it's the best one that I have.
Let's see. How they talk? They're very, very sudden. They're like, remember to save. That was not it either.
No, but I think it was better than mine.
This is your host, Roxel Voxel, signing out. And please, remember remember to save. Remember to save.
I'm the only one left here.
I am still here.
Okay, good. I was gonna just make a dumb joke that the real pea speed is how quickly you can take the bio break.
We didn't. I feel like we had a lot written down that we didn't get to there. I didn't get to mention Tales of.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get to bring up my favorite line from the notes that I wrote, which was "Amazy Daisy, my beloved."
I don't know what that means at all.
You know the metal slime type enemy?
Yeah, I guess so.
Metal slimes are Dragon Force. Is that they're from a series? They're from some series. Metal slimes are like an enemy that gives a ton of XP, but they're like very dodgy and they run away. So like you have a couple shots to get them, and then they run away if you don't get them.
Oh, I hate those.
I hate those. It's like my least favorite genre of enemy. And Amazy Daisies are the Paper Mario version of that. And they're really annoying because, like, in addition to they run away like with like 80 to 90% certainty on turn one, and then like an additional 80 to 90% on turn 2, they also hit you for like 25 damage in a game where like your max HP like at max level is 50.
Damn.
Still on Super Mario RPG?
Oh no, I was bringing up the one line that I didn't get to say during that, which was "Amazy Daisy, my beloved." I hate those fucking things. The one argument for deforestation, get those fuckers out of here. Anyway.
Three,
two,
one.
Silksong.
I feel like we've gotten worse at this.
Benvenuto nella mia torre. Non verresti a fare un giro sul mio treno? Sposiamo